Today is going to be a fantastic day. Also, in theory, we will be joined by Zara. So right now, just imagine the ghost of Zara Hoffman with us one day. Times being what they are. And what are they? On the edge of decadence. So, before we get too far, as always, in the chat, I'd love to find out how your weather is. It suddenly got cold here today. It was, I think it was a high yesterday of like 78 and crazy terrible thunderstorms all day, off and on, all day, like dangerous. We had tornado watches. It was wild. Imperial Writer is here, waves at everyone coming into chat. Oh, thank you so much for being our, hosting everybody. I appreciate it, sweetie. And Spence is here. Hello, all the lovely dumplings. Tom's in here doing double duty in the chat. Who's here, everybody? And Carrie's over here doing double duty because, I like to say it. Tom's ready to get this party started. Maggie's
We're all
over
secretly
here in the
5-year-olds. It's fine.
You know what? Got to have our fun where we can get it, right? Maggie's over here saying hello, lovelies, and we know because we just saw her backstage that she is also cooking up some delicious, what was it? Chicken, quinoa, and something else.
Rice, I think.
Secretly? Is it a secret that we're all 5-year-olds? Maybe not.
I mean...
Well, sometimes you have to fake not acting like a 5-year-old because, but...
I think it's that difference between those of us who know that we are adults, so we can only act like kids, and then all of those in the writing community who think that they need to act like adults, and it really does make you wonder, how old are they? Are they just 5-year-olds with, big bodies?
That's how I feel. That I am a 5-year-old in a trench coat going, hello, adult person, how are you? I would like to purchase this thing that is totally normal for an adult.
Yeah, how'd you enjoy watching the Boss Baby back in the Family Business?
Oh, that movie was surprisingly delightful. I will admit it. If you get a chance to watch it.
With the toddler that's just eating sugar and sugary stuff all the time. Let me just stick my hand into the bag of sugar.
Yeah, Jeff Goldblum plays a person who's just always eating sugar. And I'm not going to ruin it for you because I do think most people would have a fun time watching this ridiculous movie.
I thought that was his normal personality, but okay.
I don't know that real Jeff Goldblum just spoons sugar straight into his mouth all the time.
Although for me,
some of the roles I've seen him in would
on the other hand, but also,
point,
but also the for me, the part of where it's like, no, Gloria, you need to watch this, and most of the writers I know need to watch this, is what I can only assume after watching the movie is a military pony. Was from a Black Ops.
Oh, I love the pony. The pony steals every scene, y'all. It's fantastic. The pony's hair. Amazing.
Gorgeous.
That pony. If you do watch the movie, because I think, isn't it on Netflix or am I?
Yeah, it's Netflix. I think Netflix commissioned it.
If you get a chance, tell me that you did not notice the pony. That pony, I want that pony. I want to be that pony. I want to grow up and become the pony. Also, that hair. Yes. Hello, CB. So Maggie says it's Chicken and quinoa with sesame, sauteed carrots, celery, onions, bell peppers, and water chestnuts. It sounds delicious. And Spence is making chicken soup. Oh, I love chicken soup. And cleaning the kitchen. Crying over Encanto still. Oh, no. Because
all
I
their
told them
all
to
their
be very
meals are making
careful,
me hungry.
but not
Why do
surprisingly,
you guys
yeah.
have to live so far away?
I know. Like, yeah, y'all need to drop off some food. I'll pick it up. I'll just be a little late.
And Maggie says her brother used to eat sugar.
Oh,
When
straight
my
from
sister
the
and I
yeah.
my sister and I worked catering, and her her and a couple of the other staff would
Mhm.
take sugar packets and toss them back like they were doing shots. Bunch
I've
of
known people
teenagers
like
just
that. And I've known some people who unfortunately inhaled as they try to do that, and
oh.
yeah.
You mean
It
versus
didn't
the
slow them
Vermont
down. No,
versus the
it did
Vermont
not.
method
They just
of
drink maple
keeping a
syrup straight out of a stein. All the time. It's not unusual. It's like a daily thing. It's a normal thing in Vermont. I don't know how their pancreases survive.
Shall I tell everyone a slight horror story of cooking that,
Oh, no.
despite what it sounds like, is actually pretty good?
I feel like this show has already gone off the rails and we're only 5 minutes in, so yeah, go right ahead.
So, speaking of putting sugar on bread,
Oh dear.
I don't remember how this started. I want to say it was an accident because we used to like, when we were kids before school for breakfast, having either a cinnamon toast, cinnamon sugar toast, or melted cheese toast. And I think we were like, we couldn't find the cinnamon sugar combined, so we put some sugar on the bread, and then it's like there's no cinnamon in the house, so I just
Mhm.
put a slice of cheese on top, hoping maybe it'll just cover up the taste of the sugar.
It does not.
It does not. But you know what? For some reason, melted cheese with a little bit of sugar on it, surprisingly delicious, especially
I am
for
not a
kids.
part of that part of our family that thinks that tasted good.
I know, it's probably the same. It's part of the nudist family, which is
Yes.
everyone but you.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So, like, well, there's me. I think there might be Aunt Elio. She also was not a nudist, which is why she moved to Ohio. Dayton. I don't know if cousin David was a nudist. Like, we're outliers on both sides of this family. The non-nudist are the outliers, and also we also don't seem to enjoy sugar on bread with cheese on top.
I've never done a cheese on top, but I put sugar on bread. I am ashamed to say, but almost all the time.
I
Well,
mean,
and
who
like,
doesn't? That's like, isn't the point of a toaster oven? Is that it's sideways so you can put the cheese in there with the bread and just heat it all up together? No. What we ended up doing is we would then just do cheese toast and then just sprinkle a small amount of sugar on, and for some
again, I am
reason,
not a part of this faction, this majority of my family.
but not with cinnamon. Cinnamon does not go well.
I'm
with
not
cheese.
judging you. That's the only part I like is when it's cinnamon sugar on top of the cheese. Do you see that? Do you see that judgment? That's a judgment in that face. Look, we all gonna just do us, okay? That's all any of us can do. Spence mentions we used to do sweet and low versus sugar shots at diners. If you got the sweet and low, you paid for the meal. Fascinating. Oh, by the way, Megan is here. Hello, sweetie. I'm so glad to see you.
I put my sister's reasoning for the sugar.
Sister's logic was she didn't at the time like the taste of coffee, so the sugar was a necessary fuel to get through a shift that ended at 3 a.m. I mean, people do use sugar like as a coffee replacement, as an energy replacement. I mean, it works in the short term.
I mean,
Buttered sugar sandwiches.
When you're a teenager and you need to get through work.
I thought that was the weirdest thing till I had it, and as long as it's actually real cheddar cheese on apple pie, it does work well. American cheese does not substitute.
Yes. But I mean, like, I've had apple pie with cheddar. It's okay. It's not my favorite. But I will say cheddar cheese with strawberry jam is amazing.
Yes.
So again, there's some weird combos. Get out there, get frisky, figure it out. Let's see. Nia says sugar and cinnamon on bread with butter, not cheese. I agree with Nia because we are sisters from other misters. Spence says once in a while it was sweet and low chicken. How many shots could you do before you cried uncle? No. The first one to pay. Gave paid. No, that's a torture. Let's see.
There's another odd one.
Tried peanut butter with bacon on a toasty when I didn't have cheese. I have had that. It's not the worst thing ever. It's not my favorite, but it's not terrible.
Although I will say for the cheese ones and apples, it does work better as for a tart type, which doesn't have it's not a double crust apple pie or something. But like just a tart apple pie, an apple pie tart, a little bit of melted cheese does work well. Oh.
Yeah, that'll do it. Replacing salt with sugar. Oh, no. Best of luck. So here we are. Would anyone like to do an intro? They are totally optional. Nope. Okay. Silence. That's fine. It's okay.
Y'all know us. I got nothing new to talk about.
That's the spirit, Tom.
No one needs to hear yet about, the songs in the key of petty fridge files.
Right? I know. I feel that way too. Like y'all know. So now trying to get myself all the sugar, but I'm a baker. Yeah, it's hard. Cream cheese and raspberry blackcurrant jam on a toast. But yeah, that's the stuff.
Gloria's favorite dessert is a cream cheese and raspberry chimichanga, deep fried.
Really good. Bite me. Okay, so just to recap in case somebody has hung out during the chaos and was like, but what is all of this about? I don't get it. No problem. So for December and all through January, we're talking about life skills. Every tip, trick, and hack everyone has ever learned on how to cope. How to have a little bit of an easier time in life, specifically as an adult. When we're children, in theory, people are looking out for us and they take a lot of the burden away from us as kids because we're kids. We're inexperienced. So in theory, people have had that. But as adults, people are like, you're on your own now, sink or swim. And a lot of us, stress about sinking. I do. So, and in our desperation to not sink, we've learned little hacks and tips and tricks to float a little bit better and maybe occasionally swim. Little paddle through that roiling water. So here we are, here to share it. So, and this 2-month series is loosely based on repressing apparently isn't coping. I mean, technically it is a short-term coping technique, but it does have possibly long-term ramifications if you don't revisit it in a timely manner. So it is short-term. It is an emergency coping technique to be used for emergencies and not all days. So, but anyhow, so this series is loosely based on essentially what became an unofficial Miss Glory's finishing school for lovely beings that I used to do. I mean, have I ever stopped? I mean, y'all have met me. And this is the whatever it is, 8 or 9 weeks of pretty much covers almost everything I used to go over with every student I would have. Most students stayed with me for anywhere between 6 to 24 months. And what that meant was I would see them several times a week, or I would talk to them on the phone several times a week as we would figure out how they could cope better in their life. based again on everything I knew, that other tips and tricks people share with me. And so that is essentially what this is. We're like essentially archiving all of this knowledge, or at least a shallow survey of it. We're not doing a total deep dive into all of it because we're just trying to give a taste. Next season, maybe we'll go a little bit deeper, but this is what we're doing. So that's the basic idea of the show. And then today's episode is on charm and consideration. And as I've told a couple folks, for me at least, today is probably the most Buddhist episode of this whole series. Because what happened was, in my early 20s, several people said, "You sound so Buddhist. Are you familiar with Buddhism?" And I was like, not really, other than what I'd seen in movies and TV, which, I knew was not accurate, but, And one day, I was trying to order a book, and I ordered the wrong book. Hello, Michael. I was trying to order a book, same title, When Things Fall Apart, by a different author, but I ordered the book When Things Fall Apart by Pema Chodron, or Chodron. I mean,
No, it's Chodron.
Okay.
She says that.
She is a Buddhist nun, and she essentially tries to translate Eastern Buddhist thinking and philosophies to Western culture so that people from Western cultures can understand this very different cultural background of philosophy. And that book really kind of opened my eyes of, oh, I did not know I was Buddhist this whole time. But so one of the things she talked about in the book is where you try as a Buddhist, you try to have more meaningful conversations with people. There's nothing wrong with small talk. How is the weather? What do you think of the latest crop report? Have you eaten anything good today? There's nothing wrong with that. But it's like living on junk food. Junk food is a nice once in a while food, but it will not sustain your body healthily, and maintain health. And meaningful conversations are like that too. Meaningful conversations are like healthy foods. They will sustain the spirit. So, but here's the thing. When you have meaningful conversations with people really do share of themselves. And you learn the truths about people. You learn their personal truths, like, for instance, what their values are, what they value in others, and even little things like what kind of compliments they like and what kind of compliments they don't like. It's kind of a safe thing to have a conversation with when you're trying to have a meaningful conversation with somebody that you've only known a couple months, I found, is what do you value compliments? What kind of compliments do you like to hear? And I was telling this story backstage, and so apologies to the on-screen folks. They're about to hear it again. So there was this very lovely older lady that who essentially sort of mentored me in my early to mid-20s. She used to host the most amazing parties, y'all, like parties that I wanted to host. And I just really enjoyed being around her. I got to know her so much better. And that is how I found out one day when we were having meaningful conversation that she hates it when people compliment her skills. That she has spent years and decades learning. And it boggled my mind. It was the very last thing I ever thought. But what kind of compliments did she crave? Did she yearn for? Compliments about her youth, her beauty, how youthful she looked, how girlish she seemed. She loved it. She lived for anybody saying, "Oh, I just heard your beautiful girlish laughter." She said she would float on cloud 9 for at least a whole day just from that one compliment. So by listening actively when she said that, I thought I had to cope with that. I had to process it of, that's not what I value. I don't value youth. I mean, nothing's wrong with youth, but it's fleeting, isn't it? Age will come for us all. And I value the time and energy people spend in learning skills. And yet here we are. This is not what she wants. She wants to hear how youthful she is. And while I may philosophically disagree with, valuing youth over skill, that's what she wanted. So that's what I did every time I saw her. I would say, "Oh my goodness, you look like we were just on the playground, just having a wonderful time. She's like, "Oh, Glory, I haven't seen a playground in decades, but thank you so much." And we would giggle like little girls, and then we would go about our business. And I mean, let me tell you, I desperately wanted to be invited to all her parties, so I was going to figure out how to compliment her the way she wanted. And and that is where I started getting this reputation at the time of Glory is the most charming person you'll ever meet, which I thought that was very odd, because I did not set out to be charming. I set out to practice mindful Buddhist teachings. And I inadvertently learned how to be far more charming and considerate. And that is how I inadvertently learned that all sorts of people prefer to work with charming, considerate people for a variety of very valid and important reasons. In order to be charming and considerate, you must be an active listener. And then in active listening, also to ask these very meaningful questions, to have meaningful conversations.
I came to the backstage and I heard that story, and that's the reason why I said, okay, I'm gonna be in the background doing some work, but I want to stay because this topic is something so very important to me. It's like not having one of my senses be optimized, with this crap eyesight. I get very, very nervous when people give me compliments because I don't know what to give in return, or I feel like I don't have anything to give in return. Because, for example, I wouldn't be able to say this woman that she looks beautiful. Because I mean, sure, I can say it, but she will know that I'm blind. She will know that I'm probably faking, and that is not what I want to come across as. So this topic is so important to me that's why you guys see that Dal is here, but it's not here. What's going on? so it is. I never knew that this had to do with Buddhism, but yeah, I'm in for this topic, y'all. I'm very fascinated by this. Thank you, Glory, for sharing.
Aw, I'm so glad you're here, doll. And yeah, jump in whenever, and then jump out as you need to. That's fine. So the mindfulness is what leads to the inadvertent, or can lead to inadvertent charm and consideration. And I have found in my personal life that when people want to work with you, that means they really want to work with you in a variety of endeavors. And yes, some of them, in fact, can be quite profitable. Also, some of them can be, emotionally validating. They can be everything you're looking for in life. Because again, that mindfulness will open those doors. That mindfulness will open the door to being more charming and considerate. And that charm and consideration will open the door to people saying, every day I work with you is a pleasure. I get out of bed looking forward to seeing you and working with you. And yes, some of these endeavors lead to the parts, the goals that you may have in life. That is why, and that is how I've explained to my students in the past why this thing, charm and consideration are actually quite valuable skills to practice. Because yes, it will help you just feel better about yourself. When you're having more meaningful conversations, you will have these heartfelt connections with people that you value and that are in your life, and that will enrich your life as well as enrich theirs. There's so many side effects that are powerful and wonderful. And that's where we are today, of because I've had so many students that I don't want to be false. I don't want to give fake flattery. I'm not a fake person, or I don't want to be a fake person. I don't want to give fake compliments. And I'm like, you do not need to please don't give fake compliments. Please do not. Give the compliments people want, but in a sincere, genuine way. As I said, that lady, look, let's see. So I was in my early 20s. She had to be in her late 50s. I actually think she was in her mid 60s. She did look young for her age, but then she lied about her age. So, but so I never said she looked like she was 5, because that would be an out and outright lie. I did say she did have a girlish laughter, because to me it did sound really, like kids on a playground. It sounded delightful and, uncontained. So I would keep my eye out for ways to compliment her on things that she valued. that mindfulness, do you see where that's coming in again? That's where that's where we're trying to go with this.
And also being present in the moment of what is it this person is doing, in our conversation, in our communication, not so much, thinking back on what you think of this person, what the concept of this person is in your head from memory. Instead, you're thinking about who they are right now as they're talking with you. What do you notice?
So I used to, so I always have ADHD. So staying present is not the easiest thing. And from what I gather from others, it's so much more uncomfortable for me to keep bringing my focus back to the present moment with someone else. Because, yeah, my mind wanders. It's just how it is. By the way, meditation practice also is helpful for helping. It doesn't make the ADHD disappear. It's helpful for practicing sort of a strength of mind where it's easier to bring your mind back to the focus you wish to. That's all. But anyhow, what I found is part of why I did not enjoy being present in conversations with others was because, and I did not realize this at the time in my late teens, early 20s, was I was not enjoying the conversations. And that was why I didn't want to stay present in the moment with them. Was I was not enjoying either who I was talking to or what we were talking about. Not that what we were talking about was necessarily bad or something. It wasn't like today's political climate. It was just I was bored. I was, and what is boredom but mild sadness? It didn't interest me. However, by focusing on having meaningful conversations with others, by asking meaningful questions, I started really enjoying being present in the moment in conversation with others. In fact, I would look forward to it. So I sometimes I wonder if that is why so many people find it difficult to be present in the moment, especially with others, is because they don't realize they're a little bored and sad, that they aren't enjoying the conversation, or they don't know how to change the conversation to something gratifying. So that is where we are. Is in order to really get this information of how to be charming, you need to listen. In order to enjoy listening, you need to ask questions that you genuinely would like to hear the answer to, not to get one up on someone, but to really get to know them better as a person.
Mm-hmm.
In what the Buddhists talk about of a heart connection, of a meaningful connection of two hearts communicating with each other. And I've also found, as much as masking is exhausting for me, but I feel like a lot of people want me to mask all the time, when you're having a heartfelt conversation with somebody, the masks sort of fall away and people are so much more accepting of me. So again, I find that having those heartfelt conversations is a wonderful way to dip them into me masking less and then being comfortable with me masking less and being more of just my pure self. Which, yes, is still a 5-year-old running around liking poop jokes and everything else. All the puns, all the silliness. The real me. It is a lot to think about.
Enjoy the poll.
Oh, wait, there's a poll. Hold on, I gotta wake up the mouse.
Wake up, mouse! Whenever you say that, I just suddenly picture the mouse from Alice in Wonderland at the tea party.
Yes.
Wake up, wake up!
Most difficult part of charming others: seeing the positive in others, fearing mistakes in conversation, staying present in the conversation, or getting exhausted by talking. We do have
the latter.
That is an introvert problem.
Yeah, I was like, we do have a lot of introverts on screen and in the chat. It is true.
My biggest problem is exhaustion. Like I don't realize until it's too late for me that I'm exhausted. Like I don't even realize because I have a problem. I enjoy meaningful heart to heart conversations
Hmm.
Mhm.
because it is a conversation, right? It's
Yeah,
sound.
if it's a person, if you're having a conversation with someone you connect with and you're just
Hmm.
having a great time, you don't realize until like you're on your way home that, oh my god,
Yeah, I'm
I am
exhausted.
wiped.
Also,
Every conversation, every time I am with my best friend, like we will
yeah,
laugh and act crazy and just, you know, act a fool, and then I'm driving home like, ugh, I gotta make it an hour drive. How?
I
Mhm.
I can be present. Not perfect, of course. I'm not. Please, no. I need to reword that. Oh crap. I can be very present in a conversation. It is not perfect, of course. Everybody does wonder, even without ADHD, we all do. At some point, we do because exhaustion could be a thing, or the
Mhm.
external environment could be a thing, like something really loud and horrible happened, or something, or like a big distraction that takes us out of something. It can happen. So I'm not perfect either. I do a lot of meditation to be more focused and more present because focus is something I need to work on in my life
Mm.
um, a lot. And I have improved, but it's a never-ending work in progress. My biggest problem is that I only have sound. So if there is a visual cue happening in a conversation, I am not able to pick it up unless the person tells me verbally that something is off, or something is happening visually that I didn't even see it. So I could go on and not realize that something in the visual sense has happened, and this could lead to a lot of problems if the other person doesn't know, and the other person assumes that I don't give a crap about it, and I'm like, no, actually I didn't see it, like at all. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
Mhm.
like that is again one of the difficulties of starting conversations with people
Mhm.
is most
Very
people are
visual.
not trained to be that observant or considerate of others.
Mhm.
You know, versus you talk to anyone, they're like, they have a real difficult time seeing, right? Like, why would you use a visual cue and
Right,
expect
they
them to
start like
respond?
winking. They start like winking and like waving, but waving very subtly, that like a small wave,
Yeah,
or
it's
like
like
a
the
very
person's not looking, right? And but that
she's
is,
blind, right? Like she's like across the room and she's blind. She didn't see that, right?
and again, like that is, one of the real difficulties is we do relate to the world through ourselves, and so
Hmm.
until the other, someone develops, the consideration and thinking about others as they talk with them, they will tend to default to whatever works for them. Which,
Hmm.
hence is the difficulty anyone who's neurodivergent feels with most of the world.
Mm.
Yes.
Yes.
Is like, no, I don't work that way, and you're not recognizing
Mhm.
my difficulties.
I can relate in my blind self about that
Mhm.
Hmm.
too. It's and
Yeah.
and I have happened to have that other problem with my neurodivergent friends. Is like they tell me, no, I don't work that way. I'm like, that's true, absolutely. I'm sorry. It's like, but I realize in time. So like we can like find a way that can work for both of us. It's very interesting, but it takes work, and it takes honest and genuine communication for it to work.
Oh yes.
So.
Again, that heartfelt communication really does open the doors again to like also helping other people learn to be more considerate too.
Mhm.
Because in order to have those kind of communications, we must share ourselves as well as asking others to share themselves with us. Stunt says, my desperate need to be liked and validated as a good person both makes me terrified of making a mistake in a conversation and allows me to push through the exhaustion to the detriment of everything. Yes. It is a problem. It is a challenge. So again, Like, so there's essentially one episode of the show that we instead, because we didn't have enough space, to do, we then decided to spread it out among all the episodes of this season, which is boundaries. Beautiful
Woo!
boundaries. You will never stop learning to reassess boundaries because we have to do it forever. So,
Mm-hmm.
and so that is like some of it. When you know you're an introvert and you know that peopling exhausts you, as even when you love it, it exhausts. Setting
Yeah.
boundaries, such as I would love to see you or I would love to chat with you. I can only do it for an hour. I can only hang out with you for 2 hours, and then because as much as I love it, I will be too exhausted to drive home if I stay longer. I will need a nap.
And I have
Well,
actually had friends that it's like, all right, we're going to do this, we're going to converse, and then we're going to go back to your place, and I'm going to go lay down on your couch or your bed,
Yes.
whatever is ready and you're okay with.
Mhm.
You're feeling. I'm gonna, and I may nap. I may just lay there in the dark for an hour or two.
I mean, Joe has learned that if I say Saturday I'm going out to see Bestie, he knows I'm going to pack a bag because we're going to be up all night talking, and
Yes.
I will just have to collapse on her couch and come home in the morning.
But again,
Yeah.
that is though still one of the benefits of knowing yourself. You're not
Mhm.
in denial like we tend to be growing up of
Mhm.
just who we are and the. I want to do this, but I have limits. My body and my mind have actual limits. This is not the Matrix, as much as we'd like it to be some days.
If only.
You cannot bend yourself so the spoon looks bent.
One day. Anyway, yes. So I think particularly this episode more than many, it is important to also discuss boundaries as part of it. Part of being considerate is figuring out or being told what other people's boundaries are and respecting those. And then if they do happen to do a little turnaround and go, "Oh, I can't believe you didn't do this," and you reply, "You can't believe I didn't do this because I was busy respecting your boundaries that you had clearly stated before." Sometimes we all need a reminder. Sometimes there's a misunderstanding about with Buddhism that, oh no, it means that you're always gentle and soft. No, you do not need to be. That is not Buddhism. Buddhism is not being a pushover, no matter how media may have portrayed it.
That's why I love deep down in my heart that image someone captured of a Zen Buddhist in Japan flipping off a truck driver.
Yes.
I'm truly, their own version of "I'm walking here."
Right?
I love that.
Orange is not a target color.
Exactly. I am still a person who is deserving of respect. I respected you. That is why I did not do something that you were expecting me to do, which when you had clearly stated what your boundaries are. I would not
But
cross those
also,
boundaries.
that is part of those conversations as you develop friendships. Setting boundaries of, because someone may actually respond to that question of, "No, I thought you were joking. It seemed a bit tongue in cheek. I didn't think you were truly." It's like, I will, see the responses of, I will make signals to you more boldly if I am making a joke. If I just say something, double check. I will crack a smile if I am joking. But otherwise, no, I really mean what I'm going to tell you. Like, I don't want to confuse you.
Tom is literally pretending to be me in this conversation we've literally had, where I explain I will smile when I am joking.
Oh God.
So look, the student learns. I'm so proud of you, Tom. I really am. I really am proud of you. You have come so far, and I am so happy that I have been able to be a part of that journey and see you progress. Because I know it hasn't been easy.
Your deadpan is 6 feet under. Okay? Can we just accept that though? It's like, how are you even expecting me to realize? And like, I'm told I'm a good joke teller, maybe by others who are different than me.
I kill it. Do you know how many people told me I should do stand up? Oh my God, I'd kill it. Yes.
I've heard that too. People tell me that I'm good at making jokes, like I should
Yeah.
make my own stand-up show, and I'm like, are you sure about that?
I know.
Because
The truth
are
doesn't
you
have to
sure about
drop.
that? Because I'm blind.
Well,
I don't know when to stop or how to stop. So it can get really bad real soon. So no.
well, I mean, but part of really what good stand-up is, what people are looking for in a good stand-up, is somebody who has digested the thoughts we all have every day and has now come up with a short, simplified, humorous way of remembering how to respond to life.
Mm-hmm.
That is really what those punchlines
Interesting.
are.
Mm-hmm. As Michael C.B. Chen says, Buddhists portrayed as pushovers as part of the Western emasculation of Asian men. Yes.
The only thing men fear more than women is other men.
Rightfully so. Spence says, and respecting your own boundaries because it's really hard to respect other people's and see other people's when you're trampling all over your own.
Oh, that could be its own entire 3-hour discussion.
Mm.
Just the amount of people I've seen walk over their own boundaries, and it's like, don't we need to stop here?
Yeah.
Like, no, I can keep going. But do we need to?
So again, I want to bring up how mindfulness can be helpful. Like, look, it is a good, better, best situation. If you try to just every day try to do what is you think is a good option, if it's possible to do a better option, do that if you can. If you have the ability to do what you perceive as the best option, to do so. But life is not definitive of there's the only good option and then all other options are bad, or there's just bad and good or something like that. That is not how life choices are. That's not even how daily choices are. So looking at it instead as it's all just options. What is a good option? What is a better option? Can I make the best option, or is that even possible? It's often not. But looking at it as variances, what can you do? Rather than there's all these things I can't do or I don't want to do. All right. But let's change our focus. What can you do? What kind of conversations are you comfortable having? How long can you have those conversations? And what do you need to do to stay mindful of those boundaries or those settings you need to do in order to have the kind of conversations you want to have? Because you are definitely worth having heartfelt, meaningful conversations. You are worth that. You are a valuable person. Sharing of yourself and experiencing the sharing of others with you will be meaningful, and it will help enrich your life. It will enrich the lives of others. You are valuable by your inherent existence. And part of sharing that value is having heartfelt, meaningful conversations with others.
I mean, to do a quick aside, kind of showing this and the real power of it. I was talking with Gloria when we were discussing this last week or originally, can't remember, and we were talking about a former president in the '90s and how we've known a few people who have met him in person.
Yes.
And they have all said the same thing, whether they were, part of in his political party or the, opposed to his political party. This is still the most charming man they have ever met.
Mm-hmm.
And the charm is when he's with you, when he is talking with you, it is like a spotlight is on you. It's not on him, it's on you.
But it's not like a cold light. It is the warmth. This absolute, you are the most like interesting, meaningful, important person in the world to him in that moment. And he is absolutely enjoying being here with you, sharing this moment with you. There's nothing else on the planet he would want to do other than to be there with you in this moment as the light of his attention beams on you. And every person told me, like, I did not want to like him. I wanted to hate him. I hated every policy he ever had. But when I met him, I was just absolutely stunned. I felt so valuable and important. And like it was just, yes, I wanted him to look at me forever. And, but like, that is what charm is. That's pretty much an extreme version, I would say. But that is a lot of when people say you're so charming. It has to do with just being truly present with them in the moment and paying absolute attention to them and truly enjoying the conversation you're having as you both share of yourselves.
Because that's what really makes people feel important, is that you are paying attention to them. The two parts to agency is, one, having control over your life, but second, others acknowledging you have control over your life. That is where a lot of child and especially teenage conflict comes up with parents, is children trying to exert their own agency and the parents going, you don't have that agency.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this inner conflict in the, how do you deal with this? Versus, if they say I have agency and you go, yes, you do. You're just like, oh, I love this life. Yeah, let's keep doing this.
So the other thing that Hema Children and others had talked about was, after you talk with some people, you feel exhausted and empty inside. You don't feel like that you've had a good conversation. You feel negative afterwards. Even if you don't feel negative about them, you have so many more negative thoughts. This is a flag. It is a flag that you have put yourself out there and they have not reciprocated. So again, we are needing to talk about boundaries and maintaining healthy boundaries with others. And this is truly a nuanced situation that I'm talking about. Well, I say nuanced because it took me like years, shall I say decades, and I'm not in any way claiming to like be an expert on this yet. I'm still working on it. But what I'm trying to say is, and she's passed away, so I'm gonna talk about my mother. My mother would come over and I would try to have meaningful, important conversations with her. I really wanted to get to know her as an adult. I was in my 20s in this time period. I wanted to understand her as a person. She did not want this. She stated it outright. Did I respect those boundaries? Hell no. Every time she'd come over, I would be trying to have meaningful conversations, and there she would be trying to skirt it. And we would, even thinking of it, I want to like just palm myself.
Do you feel the headache, Glory, or is it just the flames?
Just like, oh, Glory, oh, 20s Glory, honey. Anyway.
I remember this. I can relate to what you're saying so much, because my biological family is very much the same. Like, if you try to, okay, let's sit and try to understand each other, they're gonna look at you like, so what do you want? You want money from me? I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah, it's very, very.
Even when I tried to not have like, deep conversations, but I was already so used to having meaningful conversations that anything was a heartfelt conversation. I was sincere every time I was conversing with everybody. So again, my mother would come over and there I am having, answering sincerely. And again, this is not going well. And she would leave and I would realize how empty I felt afterwards. Yeah. And the reason I felt empty is because I had given of myself and it had not been reciprocated. Which again, I want to point out is not a value judgment on my mother. It's not a value judgment on anybody. My mother, I can say now that she's passed away, definitely did not appear to be in a place emotionally or mentally where she could give of herself. She's very much a woman trapped in her own trauma. But because I was giving all of myself in these conversations and she was not, she would leave. And while she might have felt better afterwards, because I had definitely spent some of my time in conversation validating her, I felt empty afterwards because I had been drained of my life force, if you will. And was like, and then all these negative thoughts would then start floating around in my head that were very difficult to cope with in the short term because I had felt drained afterwards. And so I just point that out as, let that be a flag for you as well, of like, to say, oh, have heartfelt, meaningful conversations with others. Yes, that is a wonderful idea. But here, let me help you before you go out there in the world and crash and burn.
Yes.
Let me give you some pointers and some ways to diagnose when you're like, these meaningful conversations did not go the way I thought they would. Okay, yes, because I want you to have long-term success, and I do not want you to be a drained husk of a human at the end, like I was dealing with. So if after you've had, like, say, a 30-minute or longer conversation with a person and they leave and you feel empty, you feel exhausted and drained, and not the kind of exhausted like you're an introvert and you've peopled too much. It's a different kind of empty and drained, like
It's
you do
sad.
feel like a husk. Yes.
Mhm.
You're now sad inside.
You're a negative. Oh, just like all this anxiety where I re-questioned everything I said, and then when I ran out of things to question of what I had just said with my mother, I would then just start running around in my head questioning things I'd said over the last 3 days with everyone, with the cashier at the grocery store, when there was nothing wrong with the small talk I had with the lady.
Why is this so relatable? Well,
So, and that is a symptom of putting yourself out there and not receiving in reciprocity. So just be aware that some people, it is not possible. They're not in a place to have meaningful conversations. And so to safeguard your own energy, when you are with those people, no meaningful conversations, you just have nice small talk and then you move on. Because you need to take care of your own energy and your own mental health. And so before our bio break, and Carrie, I believe you put your, I like the signal. I feel like it's a cue when you
No,
put
I
your
was.
mic down. And I'm like, yes, ma'am. Do you have something to say? I love it. I love
No,
cueing me.
I just didn't want everybody to hear me crunching.
Oh, okay. I was like, do you have something to say before we go to break?
No, I've got leftover Christmas goodies I was
Okay,
munching
cool.
on. I didn't
I
want the
just thought I'd
crunch
check. It's
pick
like,
up on my mic.
I love this. Okay.
I hear you, Glory, and I
Ah,
hear you because, well, I mean, Tom, you've read my book. You know you know what's
Yeah.
in that book. You
Oh
know
yeah.
what's in there. Oh, this is so like yeah. You know how much I can relate.
mhm. Yes.
Um,
So
it's
let that be a flag for you.
yeah.
After you, like,
Mhm.
maybe one time, sometimes people are anxious and they just cannot give of themselves in the moment, but normally they would be able to have a heartfelt conversation. So I would not say just like labeling a person after one conversation. That is
Yeah.
not
If
fair.
you try, like, if it's a parent, a cousin, like someone that you have to see regularly, and you
Or a
try like,
coworker you have to see regular. Yeah.
and like if you try like 4 times, 3 4 times, and it's the
Mhm.
same,
Yes.
yeah, just leave it.
Yeah, you
So
see a pattern.
By the way, there is actually a term for this. What Brene Brown goes over it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a vulnerability hangover.
Mm-hmm.
It is where you are vulnerable and you feel like you were just hung out there. That there
Mm-hmm.
was not, you know, said there's no reciprocity of feeling safe and comforted and, you know, enrobed by others' compassion. Instead, you just got blank stares and you're now just like, oh, am I about to be eaten by the wolves because I am not part of a group?
Yes.
What just happened? And again, that's where, yeah, you will feel empty, you'll feel sad, you start questioning everything because that's the back of your brain going, panic. We are not part of a group. We are not safe right now.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So yeah, as I said, like
Yeah, I,
here
I,
I'm trying to like give you these like flags. Let these be flags for you. That you're like, wait, Glory and Tom and Carrie and Doll talked about this. Hold up. They mentioned this feeling. What did they say?
you bring that up, and now I'm like remembering, like I felt that with um two of my great aunts. My grandmother had there were um two sisters that outlived my grandmother. Um, and they didn't speak to each other at that point. They hadn't spoke to each other for years, but that's a whole other story. Um, but they would get together and talk about when they were girls, and we'd sit and we'd enjoy and we'd, laugh and everything. But if they directed something towards you, it was never positive.
Mm.
And that was part of the reason that, my grandmother stopped speaking to them, because my one aunt stood me in front of her, looked me up and down, and said, "I want you 100 pounds lighter before I see you next." And Grandma chased her out of the house.
Yep.
Wow. Just,
Of the,
oh my goodness.
you could just say you don't want to see me. You don't have to say it in such a
The
malicious
10 years
way.
of being sent small and medium clothes wasn't enough of a hint, I guess, for her.
Oh, wow. Yeah, before we go to break, I do
But yeah,
want to. Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Like, she would put on the mask of being like this wonderful, pleasant person, and then.
Oh, what was it? Jellyfishing. That's the
Yes,
term.
Bridget
Jellyfishing.
Jones talks about jellyfishing. They're just floating on by, and you think, oh, look, they're so pretty, everything's fine. And then, boom, you've gotten one of those tentacles, and now you have a sting burn. They jellyfish. And I really like that
And to a
term.
sensitive 17-year-old, that sting lasts.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yes. Oh, God, yes. So Spence mentions, don't mind me just over here reevaluating about 75% of my conversations ever.
Right.
So again, as I said, I'm sharing about myself so that, number one, I don't want to call anyone else out, because that is not what we're here to do. But also, maybe if I share my own personal experiences, again, not to say anyone else's experiences are like that, because I'm not even thinking that, but rather perhaps it may ring a bell for somebody, but I don't know who, so I'm having to say it to everyone. So just to make that abundantly clear to folks, because I have had people be upset when I share stories about myself rather than talk in generalities, but I feel like it's more authentic to actually share real life experiences in case there's a little bit of the story that rings for someone.
And as
So,
CB is saying, sometimes, and don't be upset when it takes you years and over decades to realize this. We put a lot of our hopes and dreams into those around us that we see regularly.
it's true.
It's all right if you don't realize this boundary's not working.
So, with introverts, they talk about with the introvert brain, which is scientifically proven now. Some people are wired. It's approximately it's 40 to 60% of the planet is wired for introversion versus extroversion in theory. But there are aspects. In fact, if you know us, then you know about the lemon test to see, are you an introvert?
Just thinking about that, and I had to,
Did you have to?
Yeah.
Okay, so again, I'm going to mention there is an actual test now that works in 70 to 90% of all humans that's accurate. So you don't have to go under an MRI or whatever imaging equipment to see, does your brain work as an introvert or not. So what you do is you just get a lemon slice and you just a quick suck. If your mouth dries out, you are an extrovert. Your brain is wired for extroversion. If your mouth the saliva is intense. If suddenly you have excess saliva, I've heard several people on our show mention the drooling, then you are an introvert. You have an introvert brain. There is a real reason a legitimate reason you feel exhausted after peopling. Even when you love the people and you had a wonderful conversation, you still need to have a little lay down. So that's the lemon test. It's known in psychology for a while now. I would like to welcome everybody to give it a try. Lemons and limes work for our Southwest friends and, and anyone else with limes.
And for
yes, go try it out if you haven't tried it. Every time I do the lemon test, my mouth dries up so much, my jaw aches. The muscles get so tense, everything dries up. I am definitely a dyed-in-the-wool extrovert. But way before that, I actually figured out inadvertently that I am not an introvert. I thought I was an introvert because 75% of my conversations exhausted the hell out of me. And I would have to lay down for days, y'all. I would need to rest extra for days. And so I thought I was an introvert. And hence why I love being around introverts, because y'all get me. I still love being around introverts. But what I learned when having meaningful conversations, I then learned some people make me feel dried up like a raisin or a husk doll. And so I stopped trying to have conversations with people like that, which meant essentially those friendships just sort of faded away, because were they really friends? And what it did end up meaning was, if slowly but surely I started having more conversations more often with people who wanted to have heartfelt conversations. And I inadvertently figured out, oh, I am an extrovert, because when I have meaningful conversations, I feel energized afterwards. I'm ready to go, tackle all the tasks. I'm energized after having conversations with y'all, because again, I don't feel like a husk afterwards. I don't feel like a dried up little raisin baby.
I don't feel like a husk when I have a meaningful conversation, but I do feel tired after people.
Well, yeah, introverts, you still need a little lay down, even though you're happy. You're not having negative thoughts.
No. But
you do need still a little lay down, because your brain is just wired differently, and that is totally cool and awesome.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens. It's like,
it's I wanted to share that of there's nuance here between extrovert versus introvert, and meaningful conversations versus negative or difficult conversations with people who just don't reciprocate. So I just wanted, before we went to break, I just thought, let's address this. This matters. This is an important thing to keep in your head, as well as for others, because you may meet friends who have a different kind of brain than you, so that you can still help them, but you understand there is a slight and subtle difference, and here's a lemon. I need to know how you are.
This is there is like a lot of misconceptions and misinformation on the internet. Everybody makes a video these days, and they can just make a video about whatever. And there are some videos that say that introverts are basically antisocial and emotional inept jerks, because they will treat animals better than people, or they will never tell you what they are really thinking because they are introvert. I hate when I encounter those videos on YouTube, and I'm like, this is not real psychology, but people suck it up. People eat it up like it as if it was. And here I am, like a full-blown introvert, and I'm like, dude, it doesn't mean that I don't like people. It means that after interacting with people for so long, I am depleted of my energy. That's what it really is to be an introvert.
And hence why we do these little bio breaks. Let's be honest, the real reason we do them consistently is so all my introvert friends can have a little 10-minute lay down.
Yeah, it's like, all right, we really do need to go to break.
We do need to go to break, because
Maggie does say she hates those videos too.
Flagging here.
Yes, Maggie hates those videos too. And what you're also hearing often in those videos, and also another red flag, if you ever hear people talk about somebody's psychology and put moral judgments in there, because humans, morals are a concept humans put into things. They are not what actually exists in the world. Everything is neutral. We're all just trying to exist and do everything. But if they put a moral judgment into a general concept of a group of people, that right there is a giant red flag for, oh, that's a bad person to, converse with, just be around. They are going to cause trouble. That is what they're enjoying in life. That's how they view the world. That is not someone to try to talk reason to.
Some people just enjoy stirring the pot.
Yeah, if you hear anyone put a moral judgment on a group of people, it's always going to be a red flag, because everyone's unique.
I tolerate everyone who tolerates me. Spoiler, Nazis don't tolerate me. So guess who I don't tolerate? Homophobic people do not tolerate me. So guess what? Not that I'm suggesting, even if you're not queer, oh, well, the homophobes are okay with me. I'm just saying, when people are intolerant of others, that is your flag. You don't have to tolerate them either. We do not need to tolerate Nazis and homophobes and racists, because they are intolerant by their very nature. So we are justified in not tolerating their bad ideology that is destructive.
Yeah.
And with that, we will go to a nice little 10-minute break where everyone can stop peopling for a little bit. And when we come back, we will talk about more heartfelt, meaningful, nice things. And we will see you back here, y'all. Maybe make sure you get hydrated, get a snack. A snack might really be needed right now. And at least have a little walk around or maybe check your bladder. See y'all in a few. Beep beep. Beep beep. Beep 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 beep. Boom. Wake up, wherever you are.
I was laying down.
You're muted, Tom.
I think immediate. That was definitely not long enough. That was
I
not
know.
10
I'm
minutes.
so sorry. It is as it is.
Sorry, Joe came to talk to me.
We could do 15 minutes next time if y'all want. I mean, it is. Yeah, look, I understand. Also, I say that as I am happy to like. This is. I finally got to eat an egg and a piece of bread during our break, so I hadn't eaten anything all day.
Well,
So,
Joe got the mail when he came home, and I got a Christmas card from a
oh,
certain
what's
somebody.
Oh.
Here, I'll make it big so Doll can see. There we go. Just hold it up close. There you go. Yeah, that looks great. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Oh yes, I'm there. Oh, I was muted. Is that the peanuts?
It is. It's a
Nice.
Christmas card.
That's
I did
lovely.
send out Christmas cards.
I sent out a lot of Peanuts cards myself, so
Yes, I saw your Instagram, and I was like, "That's
Sending-
not mine, is it?" No, that's a different one. Like
Yeah, I had the same thought of like,
pattern.
oh no!
Yeah.
She had the same pattern.
mine was a lot more glittery. I had glitter all over my hands.
It is it is difficult for me to send stuff from where I live and also to receive
Yeah.
stuff
Yeah.
from where you guys are, because well, there was a whole project of sending me a writer's care package, and the price of shipping was exorbitant.
Oh
And
wow!
I felt really like it was like, not that I don't want it or don't appreciate it, because no, that's not what I mean. It was like what I mean. It's so expensive, and I feel like I don't deserve that. Like,
Oh,
it's like,
I don't know about the deserve part, but I understand this was so much more than everyone else's care packages cost to mail.
right, and I feel like, wow, that's
Like it
maybe
wasn't
too
equal,
much.
But
Yeah,
like
like,
yes, Paul, I would be happy to mail you a Christmas card or any other card because
it-
if you
Or
ever wanted that, I
Or
mean,
fingerless gloves as it's going round our little author tube area.
yes.
no, it was there was a GoFundMe to help me get that package, because the shipping was exorbitant. So in a way, it's a gift from the community at large to me,
Mhm.
and I am totally speechless that this actually happened for real, and I'm actually getting a package. Like,
Well, I didn't ask
God.
you about sending you a Christmas card because I thought that you might not want to,
yeah,
for-
share the address, and
yes.
yeah.
And I didn't want to put you in an uncomfortable position to say thank you, but no thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm
Yeah,
just
that
saying,
has
if
happened.
you are open or you have like a PO box somewhere. That
Yeah, if I open a
Then,
PO box in the future,
if you do open up a PO box in the future, let me go ahead and tell you now. Please put me on the list so I know. So to send me the address, because I would love to actually like draw or paint you a card and send it to you, because I used to always have pen pals as a kid. I loved all that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun to receive happy mail that's not bills. Like
Versus the
Yes.
adult life of if you get mail, oh, it's something bad.
right?
They wouldn't waste money if they could just email it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. I enjoy the packages, but yeah, the cost to send me anything is gonna be high. So that was just like a very exceptional occasion, because it was like a project that a friend had in mind, and they were really thinking about it without thinking of, ooh, the shipping costs. She's not in the States.
Right.
So by the time that we considered it, the plan was already done, and like the intention was all there. And then it's like, okay, let me open a GoFundMe. And I was like, hey, but it still happened. And even though at first I was like, oh my god, that's too much, and maybe I why would you do that for me? I am very, very grateful for what just happened. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it has
Yeah.
been a very nice start of the year. And so that is motivating me even more
Oh.
to create uh, not only videos or posts on social media, but like it is motivating me so I can get that sci-fi book published, even if it has to be indie.
Mm.
Even if I will see how I figure that out, but
Yeah.
I guess that's gonna be my route. I guess traditional publishing is not gonna be for me, and I honestly I don't care.
Mhm.
The only reason why I did try the traditional publishing market was because I cannot finance an indie
Mhm.
professional publishing. You know, there's a cost, and I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
have it. So it is motivating me to, well, I am gonna do something to
Mhm.
get the money to do it indie, I
Yeah.
guess. So
Yeah.
thank you everyone for being so supportive and so kind.
Hmm. We
It's
love you,
really great.
doll.
Thank you.
Love you. So Megan said during the break, drinking tea named Serenity now, and it has lavender in it, and I love lavender, and it's delightful. Oh,
Ooh.
that sounds good.
Amazing.
I love lavender.
It's my favorite flower.
I love it. I love the smell. Mercurial Writer says I had to retreat to the recliner. Gonna enjoy the show while I am reading Save the Cat. Excellent. Spence says I failed at doing Christmas cards this year and decided it wasn't worth the effort and put them aside for next year when I'll remember them early. Yes.
Hmm.
Excellent. Good that you have a plan. Megan says I enjoy sending out Christmas cards even though I don't really celebrate Christmas anymore. Yes. And CB doesn't do Christmas cards. Hold on. I need to put this user. I need to block them. Okay. Because of the bots. If y'all see them, they're sending out like it's like 3 characters space 3 characters, and that's how we know it's a bot. So thankfully in StreamYard there's now a block user option from StreamYard,
Mm.
so I don't have
Nice.
to keep going back between YouTube screen
I'm
tabs
still
and
reporting them on YouTube.
yeah.
Eventually,
Like
they'll get their act together.
when I am on someone else's stream, I report them and then block them in that order. But yeah, from StreamYard, at least I can do that to help protect everybody from the bot attacks. Um, Spence says, "I will gladly be part of the crowdfunding for your book, doll!" Exclamation point. The bits I've gotten to read deserve to be on my bookshelf. So
Oh my
no,
god.
yeah.
Wait, yeah, you have seen the snippets on Instagram, right? Whoa.
Hmm.
Thank you, Spence.
So good stuff. Yeah, be sure to put her on the list so that she is sure to get a notification. CB said I looked at getting a Nana shirt sent to me and the cost was ridiculous, so I'm getting it when my mother comes over. Good
Mm.
good plan. Yeah, versus like sending a letter or a card internationally is I have not yet to this day encountered it being more than $5 US.
Yeah.
And because like yes, I do love international pen pal. Uh, um so thankfully, first class mail is still relatively speaking affordable for international. So as I said, if anybody at least wants a
And
Christmas card next year, let me know and I will make a spreadsheet and be sure to put you on it because yes, I love international mail too. Uh,
we used to have a pen pal from Spain. We
mhm,
we did we had a class in 8th grade. It was exploratory language. It was 12 weeks of French, German, and Spanish to help you pick what language you wanted to take in high school. And the one teacher had found this program where you could get sign up and have an international pen pal, and she encouraged everybody to do like Spain or Mexico since it was the Spanish
mhm,
part of the class. But I think I ended up having 3 total. There was a boy from Spain, a girl in Poland, and I think a boy in Greece that I wrote letters to
mhm.
for a couple of years.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it? It's very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Spence wants to do super special Christmas cards next year when they're both the homemade watercolor cards and also boxes with some of my special treats. That sounds lovely. And Spence also says, you also sent me the first 2 chapters ages ago too, doll, and I'm sure they've undergone a lot of changes by now, but still.
Oh wow, that is true.
So just so
Yeah,
you know, doll, like, yeah.
there have been improvements. Yeah, there have been some corrections, some tweaking, but mostly tweaking. It hasn't been like, oh my god, I'm gonna change everything. No, no, I don't do that because I was very purposeful with what I did originally. It's just the way that I communicate those scenes, so it's like more understandable. But the story as it is stays. I'm not like deleting scenes and deleting characters and changing and correcting and making new things. No, 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 no. That no. I'm tweaking things and adding up little nuances and details, but everything else stays.
Yeah.
Very
Making
nice.
it easier for people to get into it.
Things to look forward to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Things
Yeah.
like that. I'm so happy that what I shared was nice. Actually, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
no, everyone who has read your stuff has enjoyed it. Like no
Yeah,
one's been
doll, like, really.
no one's what's the word? Being inoffensive. Yeah, no, it's like the writers around here aren't that good with that kind of speech. Let's be honest.
Mhm.
No, we actually like it. It's a fun sci-fi. It's interesting. It's novel.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is so
it's like
hard.
It's yeah, I'm glad to hear. So yeah, I might just go indie because literary agents don't give a crap about my thing.
Yep.
It's okay. It's okay, and it doesn't hurt. It simply means that what I write is not what the market at large cares about, I guess. So go indie then.
Mm-hmm. Yep, because it's about finding readers. Yep.
Exactly.
Exactly.
You enjoyed
Maggie says before CV, I had 3 people I would send Christmas cards to every week from All Saints Day to Orthodox Christmas. My cousin tells me I'm evil. Mwahahaha. Yes, so Catholics Catholicing each other. That's all I put that under there. A little good times.
I'm not going to say a thing.
Yeah, just a little Catholic joke for the okay.
Hi.
But anyway, okay. So what was it, Tom? Oh, Tom. Tom. Yes. Well, I've told y'all before about when I was in my late teens, early 20s, and my parents had already gotten a divorce. My mother almost primarily dated lapsed Catholics. She didn't set out to. It's just somehow that's who she connected with online and kept going to see. So I thought lapsed Catholic was a denomination of Catholicism, like Greek Orthodox versus Russian Orthodox versus what is the Italian Vatican called? I can't remember what. I thought there was like a longer name for Catholicism.
Roman Catholic.
Thank you. That's the one. And like I just thought lapsed Catholic was like there's another denomination. Okay, that's fine. And I learned the hard way.
Is that the real French Catholicism? Is this lapsed Catholic?
Lapsed Catholic. I just every time Mom would tell me about her latest boyfriend, it was like, and he's lapsed Catholic, and I'm like, okay, so he doesn't go to Roman Catholic. When is he going to go back to church? Well, they would misunderstand and think I meant Roman when they go back to Roman Catholic Church versus I was just like, when's he going to go back to the lapsed Catholic Church? It would come up, y'all. I'm that I am Samwise Gamgee. So anywho, remember, where Samwise is like, I ain't been dropping no eaves. When Gandalf accuses him of eavesdropping. Okay, so what was it, Tom, that you came in my room?
So one of the things I noticed, the tie was kind of between essentially being an introvert because just conversation is exhausting,
right?
But also the fear of making mistakes in conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought it'd be a good time for you to tell that story about when you weren't able to go see our uncle when he was very ill. We knew he didn't have long.
Yeah, he had a brain tumor.
And you had to stay doing your student teaching, or else you would, fail out the semester, and then it was a huge problem in your degree if you did that.
Because I couldn't afford to go pay for $2,500 for another semester. Plus, you can't work during
Yeah.
that. In order to become a teacher, a licensed teacher in every state, you have to take an entire 4.5 months off and work full time for absolutely free in the public school system under the mentorship of local teachers and the supervision of your university. And you cannot graduate, and therefore, since you can't graduate, you also can't qualify for licensure without doing this. And it is an incredible financial, issue as well as time. And you get literally 0 days off. Like, how in most jobs you can at least take 3 unpaid days off without being penalized or fired. There is nothing like that in the public licensure school program at any university. It's not just ours. It's like that. So there was no way for me to take several days off, fly up to Michigan, and help my mother. And my mother was definitely blaming me for not being there to help her deal with her brother who had a terminal brain tumor. And he was definitely not in his own mind at that point. And it was very upsetting for her. So, of course, she shared that trauma. And the students came back. It was 5th grade math. The students came back from recess. And have you ever cried where you can't quite stop crying yet? Like, you're trying not to cry. You're trying to stop crying. And the tears just keep flowing against your will. I was in that situation, and the children were saying, "What is wrong? What's happening? Are we in trouble?" And it's like, it's not you. It has nothing to do with school. But like 10 minutes in after recess, this tears just, there I am trying to teach, and it's just while tears flow. It was awful. And my mentor teacher wasn't there. I had a substitute who was worthless. She was worse than worthless. She was a menace. So I had sent her, she was actively like saying ugly, horrible things to my students, that they weren't good enough. And she called one of them a variation on the N-word. In the class, in front of everyone. And I'm like, no, but legally, I cannot be the only, because I'm a student teacher, I can't be the only adult in the classroom. And I told administration, like, as soon as that class was over, and they were like, there's literally no substitute. She was literally the substitute of last resort. We have no one. She has to stay there because legally we cannot have you be the only adult in the room.
That's insane. She shouldn't be a teacher if she says
so. Like, and here is like talking about it, yes. However, could I send her out of the room on errand? That's what the administrative secretary said. You can send her to go photocopy things and do busy work, and legally it still counts that she is the like supervising qualified teacher in the room, even though you're actually the only one in the room and she is in another room. But we cannot release her for the day, but trust us, we will put her on a no-call list after today, but we have to have her here. So that was what I did. I sent her to go laminate everything I could find in the world and told her to take her time. And so again, I had nobody to relieve me as the tears kept flowing and the students just kept demanding I tell them what happened. Why was I doing this? Especially after what just happened. They were ready to like attack this woman because they thought I was upset with that, which I was upset, but that wasn't why I was crying. And so I had to explain about my uncle and my mother and what my mother had said to me and how it's just frustrating and everything I just explained to all of y'all. Like, I cannot leave for a single day, and otherwise I won't graduate, and I can't get licensed, and I can't afford to do this another semester. And because like our family was already deep in debt, I was pretty much living off credit cards in order to do my semester of student teaching. And They said, "It is okay, Miss Fink. We understand. You don't have to teach us. We'll read our textbook and we'll tell all the other teachers you taught. You can just sit there and cry the whole class, and none of us will ever say a word." I'm crying right now. It was so sweet. And I was like, I want to teach you. But I am not in that place in this moment. And I am sorry I'm not here for you in the way you need, because you need to learn this math. But also, thank you. They said, "It's okay, Miss Fink. We know you love us and you care about us because you told us. So nobody in this room will ever say a word." And you know what? Not a single one of those 32 kids. And it was the problem class. It was the class with like several kids who were in and out of juvenile detention and the law. Not a single one of them ever even hinted to any of the other teachers or the administration or my supervisor or my mentor teacher when she came back that I did not teach that class, that I sat there and quietly cried, and none of them looked at me, and they all read their textbook and they did their homework, and everyone turned in their work. Everyone, even the ones who never turn in their work. And afterwards, like a couple weeks later, I had time with a few of my more problematic kids. And because I was expecting it turned in and the semester was going, and none of them said anything. And I said, "Why did you?" I saw that nobody has ever said anything. Nobody's said anything to me. Nobody's even hinted. I kind of asked around and nobody said anything. "Why have none of you said anything? You could have gotten me in trouble and gotten me fired." And they said again, "Because we know that you love us and you care about us and you want only the best for us, and you were having a bad day. And you literally couldn't stop crying. We know how that is. But because we know you love us, you could yell at us, Miss Fink, and we would never say a word to anyone because we know you deep down you love us anyway. So you could have the worst day ever, and we won't ever say a word." And that was like a turning point for me to realize that compassion is that gap filler when you're like, oh my God, you're in afterwards, after you had a conversation with someone and you're playing back in the middle of the night, laying in bed, and you're thinking, oh God, did they think I meant it this way? The worst possible way. And you're like second guessing yourself. Compassion is that gap filler for that other person. When they know that you like feel compassion and love towards them and you care about them, they will then interpret that whatever you said the best way possible, because they already know you love them and feel compassion towards them. Rather than what we all worry is they're going to interpret it the worst way possible. And that was a turning point for me to realize that it's okay to just express your compassion, your care, and love with other people. So then you don't have to second guess every conversation you have, thinking every other person in your life is going to interpret what you said a bad way. Like, oh, I was kidding. I did not mean it in that way. But, in the middle of the night, you're like, they probably think I'm the world's biggest racist or anti-Semiticist, or I'm just a total bee. No, they will not, as long as you have already expressed your care and compassion and love to them. And you don't necessarily have to say you love them. I hadn't actually said to any of those kids I love them. I just said, why does it matter what I'm teaching you? Because I want you all to succeed in life. And I want you all, if you want to go to college, that you can go to college. And you need to know these things. We were teaching ratios and percentages and things. You need that, for money and everything.
But that confidence that you had in them.
Yes.
Said that.
So, well, she hasn't told the prior story to that.
Which one?
I believe you got angry crying at them. And they are all very confused of why you were upset. And it was about their nonchalance.
They weren't paying attention. They were all cutting up. And this one kid, the leader of the pack of kids who were regularly in and out of detention, in school suspension, they had been expelled before. He was it was earlier that week. He had given me on the first day that my mentor teacher, their regular teacher, was out for a planned event. She was like on a rodeo circuit. So she needed a week off for semifinals. Okay. That she, since she wasn't there, he was giving me the hardest time. He was interrupting every single thing I said. I mean, he was truly like, the ultimate heckling. And I was like, you need to go to the principal. The principal sent him right back because the principal didn't have time for this. Knowing full well I'm a student teacher. And again, I have the worst substitute. Hi, Maggie.
Hello, loves.
So he had been giving me such a hard time. So I told the kid that he wasn't going to recess. He was going to sit with me and do lines. And then I'm sitting there instead of getting to go outside during recess. And I'm like, you're not doing it. Guess what? You're going to have after school detention. Is this what you really want to be doing with your life? And he said to me, why do you care? What do you care whether I succeed or not? What do you care that I keep interrupting the class? I'm like, number one, you're interrupting everybody else's learning opportunities. Number two, you're interrupting your own learning opportunities. I care because you're very smart. And you are not learning what you need to learn. This is 5th grade. This is basic math. You need, sweet babies. You need to know this, and you're not, and you are fully capable of learning this stuff. That's what I care about. How are you going to get into college? How are you, at the very least, even if you don't do college, become a manager at one of the local, options like the restaurants? We had fast food restaurants in this tiny town. I was like, you could definitely be shift manager, if not even more. How are you going to do any of that if you don't understand basic percentages? And he's like, do you really think that I can be that? I'm like, I know you can. Are you kidding? You could get a doctorate if you actually wanted to. God knows you're smart enough, and you are you're very wise when you pay attention. I've noticed you observe. And he's like, you really care, don't you? I'm like, what, have I been blowing hot air, child? What? And he's like, And that was all he said, And then he finished his assignment for detention, and that was it. So later that week was the rest of that where we know you care and love us. We know you want the best for us. We're never going to say a word to anyone about this. And then afterwards, they're like, did you get that substitute fired? And I'm like, I would not say fired. That sounds ugly. She's just on a no-call list. I was assured. So if you ever see her again, you let me know. Even if you're not teaching at this school, especially if I'm not teaching at school, I'd have everybody's personal cell phone numbers. I will call. That woman called one of the kids, not the ringleader, but one of the other kids, an ugly word. We don't talk that way in school. Not my babies. By the way, these kids still write to me sometimes. Sometimes from juvenile detention hall. Explains to me how they're going to turn their life around now.
There was one biology teacher that I did add it into my sci-fi somewhere because it is something that has stayed with me all my life. And it has been a big lesson. There was a teacher who said, well, if you can't handle it, why don't you go to the school for special kids? Yeah, she was fired after a month or something, but she didn't last long. But this is, she revealed to me how a lot of people think about me, and other disabled people. So it stuck with me, and so you will find that little phrase in my sci-fi book somewhere. Mm-hmm. There's a teacher that tells her, well, if you can handle it, why don't you go to the school for blind kids? Or something. And I'm like, yeah. Just so you know, that comes from real life.
Yeah.
It's there are some people who are teachers who are not meant.
They should not be teachers.
Yeah.
They should not be teachers.
Oh, absolutely not.
My father, my biological father, was a horrible human being, but he was an excellent teacher. He could reach the kids no one else could reach, and it was just, I mean, he would drag me in to do like tutoring so he could make sure his kids pass.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very hard for me in years later, especially when he was like the one of the most popular teachers at my high school, and no one knew the truth about our home life.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, so great that he is your dad, and I'm like,
Hmm.
Is it though?
is
But
it?
that's also something I've learned as I've gotten older, that I disagree with this adage about people, um, give people money and then see who they really are. That there's this real, true person compared to other situations they're in.
Mm-hmm.
Versus what I've really found is there is a situation almost every human acts best in. It is not necessarily the same situation for everyone. Some people, you give them more power, they act better. As
Mm-hmm.
as Gloria was talking about with that one problematic kid, his problem was actually he didn't have enough power and responsibility, so he was acting up because that's the only way he knew how to approach the world. There are other people who, yeah, they act best when they do not have power. When they do not have responsibility, that is when they are the kindest, nicest person. But you give them an ounce of power, and like we were
Mm-hmm.
watching, what was it, Sing 2 yesterday or the day before, and his chameleon assistant, she gets in charge of everyone to put on this play, and she becomes, a little lieutenant colonel from hell, just ordering everyone around and making everyone miserable.
Well, when I was the head medication administration aide and in charge of all the CNAs at the Alzheimer's unit where I worked, one of the things that I did, and people thought they thought I was the Nazi for this, but when they came in for orientation for working in the lockdown unit, I said I would tell them, wear a swimsuit when you come under your clothes, and they'd be like, what? And I'm like, yeah, wear a swimsuit. And they'd come in, and then I would be like, okay, put this on, and I would give them a wet diaper. And I would make them sit for the hour of the orientation
Mm.
in a wet diaper, and they were told there will be snacks served. Well, yeah, there were snacks served, pureed food, and someone else, and their table partner had to feed them.
Mm-hmm.
And it was this is you have spent an hour in their world.
Yeah. Just an hour.
Just an hour. So
When you know you
now
can escape.
So, and most of them got the lesson, got it right up. Others are like, no, I'm not going to do this, and I'm like, you're not working in my unit. You're not
Mm-hmm.
working on my shift. You're not working in my unit. And when I then went on and went to work for the pharmacy, I had this policy of no matter how irate someone is, no matter what's going on, I'm going to be nice to them because I might be the only person nice to them that day.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was something my grandparents taught me from when I was like 3 or 4 years old when I learned this. And that idea of, showing kindness, showing compassion,
Mm-hmm.
changing people's lives. Well, when I was in the pharmacy, we had a young man, and God rest his soul, he passed away in 2005. But he was one of these young people who was supposed to have everything. He had gone to graduated high school early, gone to college on a full scholarship, had a master's degree in finance and business by the time he was 21. So he and his buddies went to Mexico to celebrate, and they were in a very, very bad car accident. He was the only one that survived, and while he was there, they gave him a blood transfusion. At that time, they were not testing blood for transfusion for HIV.
Mm-hmm.
And he went from this young man with a lot of potential, and he was making so much money. Oh my word. At 25, he was making money like Donald Trump kind of money.
Mm-hmm.
Drove a nice car, bought this huge property on the lake for his mom. And he had it made, but he was dying and he knew it. And no matter how bad he was, no matter how bad of a day he had, No matter how he acted, whenever he came in, I was always the person that was nice to him. If he came in, I was, and, had it out with some of the other techs, he would not come back until I was there. And one day, I actually myself drove into Houston to bring up his medication because they forgot to send it. And
Wow.
because it was so expensive, literally, we couldn't even order it into the pharmacy until the 28th day of the prescription.
Wow.
So we're talking $413 a pill
Wow.
for this medicine. So I went and got it, and the month before, I'd had another pharmacist drive down and pick it up, and he came in and he was like looking at the new meds, and you could tell he just looked soul weary. And he said, I'm always in a bad mood when I come in here, and I know it's not you guys' fault, but you're always nice to me. And there are literally days you're the only person that's nice to me. I make millions of dollars. I should have the perfect life. And my life sucks. But you're always nice to me. And that really affected me because here's a young man who should have everything. He has this amazing education. He has this amazing skill for making money. And just because of the turn of fate, they turned down the wrong road and ended up in a car accident. And the blood he was given. And it really solidified all of my grandparents' teaching to me about, you never know what is going on in someone else's life. And even when you do know what's going on, sometimes it's hard to be nice to somebody who is always, but you don't know when that's the moment. And it's like a few months ago when I was on Barrett's stream and I was like, smile at everybody, but now, we're all like this because we got the things. The smile at your eyes. Crinkle. Get the crinkle going.
He's staying it up.
Because everyone right now, the world is so loud, and it's like literally January 10th, 2022, can I get my refund, please? I don't know if most people in the United States probably know what happened in Colorado on the New Year, but we had we had 2 towns burn.
Yeah.
Burned to the ground, and miraculously 1 person died. I mean, 23,000 people evacuated in 2 hours. And this year is just, and ever since then, it's been one thing after another, and it's like people are watching the news and all they're hearing is the new CV variant, and all they're hearing is this and that, horrible things, and the economy's crashing, and global this, and blah, war here, and it's like, we're not going to get this kindness from any other source. I mean, we certainly aren't going to get it from social media. Oh my goodness. And we just need to give it to each other. And that's going to be the hardest part because it is so easy to just go, give you a gesture instead of smile and wave, boys. That's the hard part. And it's so much easier to just react with the anger instead of reacting with the compassion, because compassion is work. Compassion takes your energy out of you. Compassion leaves you tired.
It is a conversation Tom and I've had with my other inadvertent students of Miss Glory's finishing school, of it's not that important to be your best self or to practice loving compassion on your best days. It's pretty easy for most people to practice it. I'm sure you don't need instruction on that. You're fine. It's your worst days is when it matters that you practice this. In part so you have the experience points.
And that's what
Or
is the hardest.
next. Oh my gosh, do you know how hard it is to
There,
be appreciative and grateful? My mother died in December 10 years ago. And for some reason, many of mine and Tom's friends, all they wanted to do was drop off Christmas trees and TVs. Two things we did not give a crap about that month. What should I watch on this TV with no cable and no electricity? What do I care? There is no
Oh
Christmas.
yeah, we had just had to move out, by the way.
Yes. We just had to move out of where we were living. And it was like, with what? With what shall I decorate this tree? I have no spirit, and also I have no decorations. And it was so hard to be appreciative and grateful. But I still, at that point, I was deep into reading a lot about Buddhism and Buddhist teachings, and was like, but when will I get this opportunity again? I hope never. To practice compassion and gratitude. So instead of saying the things I want to say, which I did actually say to Tom privately in the middle of the night when we knew nobody could even overhear us, but any other time it was like, thank you so much. Oh, we love the Christmas tree. Oh, we love this enormous TV that takes literally 3 men to move because it's one of those huge CRTs that's 36 inches. And there's no place. It takes up an entire corner of the living room, an entire quarter of the living room. But thank you so much, because it was the only thing they had to give us. So they gave us the one thing they valued that they could give away. And I realized that later, and I'm so glad I practiced it at the time, because that's what matters, y'all. And that is how you practice compassion, loving compassion, care, consideration, is on your worst days, is when you need to try hardest to be gentle with others and to be grateful with others and to express that gratitude on your worst days. You know it when you're in a bad day. Everything looks wrong. Your hair looks absolutely insane. You feel like absolute turds. That is the day when you need to slow down, and though it will kill you inside, you need to say thank you to everyone. You need to practice taking things from people carefully so you don't snatch and grab. That is when it is so important, because hopefully you will never get another opportunity that difficult again, so that you have practiced it. That's how I recommend to my students, of on your worst days is when you actually need to do this.
and you never know when somebody else is having their worst day too, and the impact that your compassion can have to somebody. Am I glitching out?
Just a little.
It's not
Okay.
too bad.
Okay. The
Oh,
vision
now
froze
it's
on my
getting
end,
bad.
so
Now it is
I'm
getting
just
bad.
making sure. Oh no. Okay, I'll wait for everything to get back to normal before I say
All right, maybe
more.
we should take a break.
Now
'Cause it
seems
is
like a
that
good time.
I got
Yes.
a new I got a new poll for everyone.
Okay, so there'll be a new
We're back.
poll in the chat, and we're going to take a 10-minute break. And again, may I, suggest, how is your liquids going? Do you have something to drink? Time to check the cup. Make sure there's still liquid in there. There you
Hydrate or
go.
dihydrate.
Check your bladder. And is it time for a snack? Highly recommend. And we'll see y'all back here in approximately 10 minutes. Beep beep. Beep beep beep. Beep 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 beep. Boom. Nope, no commercials. Well. It's kitty butt hour, apparently, over at Maggie Land. Have a few kitty butts, everybody. It's just lazy, shady little kitties. Oh, that's a chihuahua. Sorry. It's kitty and chihuahua butt hour.
Nice. I think I should go now
Okay.
because I'm going to be editing the audio, like the things that I did in Canva while we were discussing these awesome things.
Mm-hmm.
Now they are ready, and now I have to integrate them into the video, and that requires me to listen to the video. So,
Understandable.
yeah, so now I don't really want to, but I have a schedule and I planned to do this.
Oh,
So
we have enjoyed having you.
Oh,
Know
this
what
has
we've
been
had of
great.
you, doll. It's been a delightful pleasure.
I am very happy to have been here. Like, I love this topic. If I finish the audio, I'll come back, but in the YouTube chat this time. Thank
We
so
love you,
much.
doll.
Love
Thank
you, doll.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
And I will get everybody's links set up later. I needed to eat during our break, so.
Remember my tiny puppy?
Your teeny tiny puppy?
My tiny puppy? Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened when Glory gifted Mom with two puppies. They turned into those. They were Pomeranian or smaller size.
They were teeny tiny.
He was the size of Cooper, the white Chihuahua.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they were Chihuahua size, and they could eat dry dog food, like a little bit. I mean, they were puppies, so we softened it with a little bit of beef broth, a little bit of warm beef broth, and they ate it. So I thought that they were, somewhere between 4 and 6 weeks old. According to the vet, they were they had just opened their eyes, so they were about 2 weeks old. Somebody had dropped them off on the side of the road the day after Christmas.
Oh, that's terrible.
On a highway. And they wandered onto the horse farm. I was horse farm sitting. So I was like, well, my mom wanted a dog. How about 2? They would later become Boris and Natasha. Natasha's the one who ate my notebook and other books. Everybody has a fatal flaw. Natasha's was eating books. My dog, Cassie, her fatal flaw was she hated the band Queen. Hello. Anytime I would play any Queen song in the world, she would literally walk out of the room in a huff. The miniature dachshund.
Mm-hmm.
Now, anyone else? The Who, Rolling Stone, anyone else? She was fine with.
James Brown.
Anybody from the 70s, it was fine. But the Queen, gotta go. And I'm like, did she have a grudge in another life? Is this somebody said that she was she had previously been a manager of a rival band, and that's why she'd walk out of the room anytime I played Fat Bottom Girls or We Are the Champion or any song, even the less well-known Queen songs. She'd just leave. She's like, I'm not staying. She would go to the farthest end of the house and bury herself under blankets and pillows. She did not want to hear them.
Oh, no.
I do not know why. So everybody has a fatal flaw, and that was Cassie's fatal flaw, and Natasha's fatal flaw was eating books. Just, keep that in mind for character development, y'all. Oh, sweet baby.
Yeah, Cooper. He's neglected. No one ever shows Cooper compassion.
Oh, he's just.
No one ever shows Cooper kindness or love.
Nobody loves that baby.
Could that kindness and perhaps be a little treat?
A little pettings and treats.
No, Nia has a good answer.
No, you're too big for me. Okay.
That was what she was upset about because Kathy thought she was queen of the cats.
There's only one queen.
Aw,
That's a lot of puppies there.
it's a lot of pups. So many pups. Look at those
On the
faces. They all.
rare occasion that I show up without Anna to my mom's, her border collie is all over me. Like, oh, you came without the tiny human. Give me all of the love.
Yes.
Except
Yep.
on New Year's when 10 o'clock is bedtime and she's like, what the you doing in my house?
Right? Why are you still here?
Oh, I got all the dirty looks until I went up to bed.
All the puppies. All the babies need the love.
They're so
Yeah.
neglected.
Loki is getting so big. I just saw the picture on Instagram. He is so long. Oh my goodness. He's like a little gangly teenager. It's fantastic. He looks so
I know,
cute.
like I never thought I'd see him where his head looks small.
Yeah. Well, they grow at different rates. Like the legs grow, but the head has it. The shoulders take a little while.
Yeah, so many doggos.
All the affection and warmth.
All the love.
All the love. All the rescue love.
Yes.
Let's clarify. All the rescue love.
Yes. All the rescue love. We love our babies.
So I think by now most people have seen the poll,
Oh, I hope so.
and it definitely shows what it is that we bond over, what it is that really does help us feel connected, and it's being heard.
Mm-hmm.
I put my thing in the comments because I couldn't pick two.
Yes, I loved the comments. I was keeping track of it. The kid came in my room like, okay, this is what I think we should talk about next. Let's see. I'm trying to scroll back. I should have saved it, but I don't know. I'm still not used to that.
Here, I'll post it.
Well, and also like Megan had, I would like to vote for, also for shared experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Of that was the way I really enjoyed, with being with my friends, was because conversation can often be tiring, and I like shared experiences because one, you have something to talk about, but also then it's okay when you're not talking. Like that's the beauty of going to see a play or movies or just going on a long car ride. You don't have to talk the entire time.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. But this is every interaction I have when I visit with Bestie, but especially when about a month ago we had Bestie and her husband, and then a couple that I went to grade school with, and I hadn't seen in like 10 years, and they all came over for game night, and we were we were playing Cards Against Humanity. No, it was called Relative Insanity, which is basically Jeff Foxworthy's version of Cards Against Humanity. Equally as hilarious, with the trash humor, but more on the redneck side. But anyway, but it was just constant hysterics, cackling laughter, could not breathe.
Well, I think something else people bond over is the people we defend, the people we stand up for, and we bond because of the people who attack us.
Mm-hmm.
And we could go probably do an entire show on how catty AuthorTube is. I mean, that's 8-10 hours worth of talk right there.
Let alone just talking about each other's pets.
And pet peeves.
And yeah, of like, why would you do that? Why would you talk ugly about other people? Nobody wants to work with people like that. Or if they have to, they know what they're getting into, and it's not going to be an enjoyable experience.
Well,
Like, don't you want people to want to work with you? Like, why? I don't.
like before the last bio break, we were talking about people who are spoons and people who are drama addicts, and people that throwing shade and hate for them is as easy as. And I think that's something that our group has bonded over because it's not for us.
Well, it's that okay. So that comes. It's not quite in this conversation, but I think it's a good place to remind. We talked about is the difference between having the worldview of a zero-sum game versus an infinite sum game. Real economics is the more money we make, the more money we spend, the more money everyone has to share and spend. You just increase the size of your economy. But to a lot of people, if you spend money, you have now lost money. You have less versus no, more will now be circulating. Everyone will get better.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a zero sum. And that is, part of the problems we're facing now is Western capitalism has become such a harsh zero sum concept that, well, it's actually proven false. But, they keep reinforcing and doing. And
so
people take up the behavior.
They treat it like it applies to compassion and kindness.
Yeah.
Right.
There's just the more compassion you show, the more you can get.
So, and why, yes, I did learn some of these ideas as a child from the movie All Dogs Go to Heaven. There is a wonderful song, the more you give, the more you get. And while I don't know if that's true about pizza, I did learn as a child it is true about love. Love is like, okay, who remembers the Stregonona book? Where, it's a pot. She has a pot of pasta, if I remember correctly. And everybody can dip in and get some out for themselves. And so there's always some for everyone because Stregonona has a little enchantment she does. So anytime the pot needs refilling. Only somebody, I don't remember if it's an assistant or someone else overhears it. And they're like, we'll have the pot make tons of pasta. And the whole town gets overflowing with it. And the pasta then goes bad. And they have all these problems. But love is sort of like that pot, the Stregonona's cauldron, of any time you need to dip into it to get love out, there'll be more that will come. And the more you dip in, the bigger the pot grows to pull out of. It just keeps refilling itself. But when you never go to the pot, it slowly keeps shrinking. And that is love. Love is an infinite source, but there are people in this world, I have met them, who have very adamantly explained to me how love is not infinite. It is a finite material. So you have to be careful who you give it to because you'll run out. So I'm going to explain what love is from a quantum physics perspective. Love is recognizing that the bits in you are shared by the bits in me and the bits in the universe, because love comes from the universe and we are all part of it. So anytime you express love, you are merely recognizing we are all part of the same universe and we cannot be extracted from this universe. We are made of the same things that your sofa and your laptop are made of. There is no difference. So saying I am different from you, therefore I am not going to affiliate with you or care about you is bonkers. Because we are all made of the same things. The universe. And none of us are different. The couch contains the same electrons that we all contain, that our brains are filled with and keep sharing with everyone else in the universe. All the sofas, all the laptops have all the shared electrons. And in fact, we have found, and this is true, electrons that start in Sweden can end up in literally seconds in Japan. And even in someone else's sofa or their laptop or their brain. because apparently electrons are jolly little things that like to visit everyone and everything. So while science may have taught you as a child that electrons stay around one atom and they never travel, that is not accurate. Science has learned electrons wish to see the universe and can travel incredibly far in an instant, in less than a measurement of a particle of a second. Electrons want to see the universe and then get back. And so there is no difference between you and me, because I promise you, even though I've never met you in real life, more than likely, statistically speaking, we have exchanged electrons already. There is no difference. So why would I not love you when you are a part of me and I'm a part of you and we're both part of the same universe? And that is my view on love from a quantum physics perspective.
I think that's awesome.
The pizza demon heard that and jumped up because they just read that book in school, apparently. But yeah, like there's no difference.
No.
There's more than enough love. I'm glad that you like Stregonona, by the way. It's a wonderful book. I have other recommendations if you're interested, Pizza Demon. I love kids' books. I think they're for everyone, not just kids. But anyhow, but yeah, love is always going to come out of the pot. There's never not enough. That is a fallacy that unfortunately many people have shared with other people.
And they also believe that, unfortunately, that you should only give love to people who have already given you love.
Which again, if you understand that everybody is made of love, i.e., I assume it's electrons wishing to, visit each other, then that doesn't even make sense. Everybody is entitled to all the love because we are all part of the same universe. Like, there's no value there when we're all the same.
But that was what was preached in the 90s.
I know. I was there.
And it's so sad because we all lived through it. And it's still such a thing that infects people today, almost like a disease that, only love those people who love you, only love the people that are like you. All of the limits.
The idea that love has to be earned and is not already freely given, whether you care about it or not. Look, electrons are freely given. Nobody can stop them. Scientists have learned this the hard way, which is fascinating. You cannot control electrons. They refuse to be controlled. I admire these little electrons. They're definitely living their best life, and I'm all for them. They're just going to do what they're going to do, and they want to be a part of the universe actively. Opinions. So again,
yeah, the whole and love having to be conditional, and yeah, like you said, only for people who are like me, who share my faith, who share my race, who share whatever. No.
Or even people like only loving those who recognize my value. No, it's not like that. I can love you and you don't appreciate me or value me, and I can still love you. I will love you from afar, though, because why would you not appreciate me? But, nevertheless, I will still love you because, again, you are part of my universe. I cannot unentangle you from me. We cannot. That is the thing we have learned about quantum entanglement. Hi, Margaret. Are you trying to control electrons? Yes. I cannot unentangle you from my existence because you share the building blocks of what I am made of. Just as I cannot unentangle Jupiter or any planet for any reason from this universe, because it will just reform into something else, but it will have a kind of quantum memory of what it once was. Everything that you are made of has this quantum memory of all the things it was before. That's why it so easily made you. Because it remembered being with other building blocks before you, and it wanted to do it again. And this is not a fairy tale. This is the truth of the universe. It is mind-blowing how quantum physics has figured out fairy tales tell a lie to tell the truth. So withholding love is, in fact, one of the most evil things you can do in this universe. Because you are going against what you are made of. You are interrupting the flow of love. And that is why I say, hey, come to the happy, loving side. We have cookies. Just let your love flow. I promise it won't hurt as much as preventing the flow of love.
Hey, speaking of our favorite children's books,
Mm-hmm.
and whatever you want to call in showing love.
Mm-hmm.
I just saw this one posted from USM Special Collection.
What you got? Yes, Margaret, I do know how to entrance grad students. You are correct, ma'am. Once a teacher, always a teacher. Also, I do love to bake. It is true. Oh, yes. So this book is a little bit difficult to find, but I highly recommend getting it. Buy it used. Tell Me a Mitzi by Laura Segal. So Mitzi is the little girl pushing the stroller, and I believe her brother's name is James, and he is in the stroller.
We related to this a lot growing up.
Yes. My parents were concerned that I did not like my baby brother. So they found Tell Me a Mitzi and a few other books about older little girls with younger little brothers in it. And so Tell Me a Mitzi is a series of 3 short stories inside of this children's picture book that is essentially Mitzi's day, but as an adventure story. Things happen, y'all. I highly recommend. It is super duper fun.
Yeah, I just literally saw that pop up and it's like...
Oh, the USM Special Collection? Excellent.
Well, that and specifically this book, as we were talking about
they have had
and
to
showing
listen
love.
to me preaching the gospel of Tell Me a Mitzi enough times. I'm glad to see it finally took a hold.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is about Mitzi's adventures taking care of her little brother James. And Tell Me a Mitzi.
And their cat that tags along.
Yes, and Tell Me a Mitzi teaches little children how to tell stories inadvertently in the storybook. So I highly recommend it for all kids and kids at heart. I believe they have reissued it a few years ago.
I want to say they did, yeah.
I've hit up a whole bunch of publishers at the Children's Book Festival and finally found somebody who figured out who had the rights to it. Yes.
I have to go, lovely. Minion has a
I'm sorry. I was trying to click to remove the thing, and Tom clicked at the same time. I did not. Sorry, Maggie.
No, it's fine. I'll catch the rest on the replay. I love you guys. Rural internet density means one person streaming at a time.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Good night. Love you.
Good night. Good night. Be blessed. Good night, Carrie.
Night.
I am so curious what's going on in that background.
Get off, Mom. My friends are online. They're missing me.
Is that what she was saying? Because I couldn't quite understand, because y'all know I have auditory dyslexia.
She wasn't saying the friends part, but previously Maggie has brought that up of like that's what it is. Like she does a few things online as well as she has to finish up her schoolwork.
Yes. Okay.
But no, that was just the sound of an exasperated teenager.
I know, that's what I was like.
Things already done instantly.
Yes, I was like, I love it. I love it. So here we are in the 3rd hour.
So time to go over other things we haven't brought up just naturally in conversation that we were meaning to. So
yeah, what you got, Tom?
Let's talk about you need to think how to think of others. How to step out of yourself, because part of being considerate and compassionate is recognizing others are not you. And
And they
You know,
don't even have your background or your life experiences or your perspectives or the kindness of the people in your life. Maybe they had different kindness people, but they didn't have the same ones, probably.
and so we both got to this in very different ways. Um, I eventually, got through it through metacognition of just being able to step outside myself and go, as I was saying earlier, like there is nothing is inherently moral or immoral. Everything is simply an act. We assign it moral value just as humans and the way we're taught. Hey, Charlie.
Hey, sweetie.
Um, and that recognizing that there is nothing in existence that has a inherent moral value.
Mm-hmm.
Your intent is moral. The effect you do in the world is that has no
Random.
morals. It is simply an effect. It is simply something that happened. Whether good or bad came of it, it just happened. But that essentially sort of playing a game, just having this little thing, you play in your head of like recognizing like, all right, what is this experience I had like if I strip out the moral feelings about it, of it being good and bad, glorious and awful, all that. And that eventually, after a few years, helped me develop a sense of metacognition of just being able to step outside and just see the world neutrally for what it was. And then that made it easier to talk to others and, be compassionate when I'm listening to them, and being able to sort of not quite really step into their shoes, but at least not be in mine when I'm hearing them talk and trying to better understand what they're saying. And so that's another part of that being charming, is that you are not in your shoes at the time you are conversing. You are simply there with them and just hearing what's happening. You're not trying to assign moral values. You're not trying to, debate, right and wrong, good or bad. You're just there with them, hearing what happened and understanding it. And then maybe later, if they want to, you can discuss like, how to best interpret this, what kind of narrative to put to it, so that everyone is in a better place. But that part of charm is, don't be in your own head when you're talking with others. That's not the time to really do that. You take little bits, you take breaks in the conversation. That's where you do it. But and like that was one of the things I definitely wanted to bring up for today's thing about charm. Is that if you're in your head, you are not putting the spotlight on them.
And the story I was gonna tell before we went to break was about like you don't know when somebody is having their worst day.
Mm-hmm.
I worked in retail for a long time, way too long than I probably should have. And one of the hold on, Joe. Sorry. Just give me like 10 minutes. Jeez. Okay. But there was this customer who came through my line, and he said, "I wanted to thank you." I'm like, "What?" He said, "Several years ago, um, I was having a lot of health issues, and I had to use one of those motorized carts. It was very difficult for me to grocery shop. As I came through your line, you were very pleasant, and then because we didn't have baggers, so we would pack everything, and then people would load their carts on their own. Well, I took everything, and I walked around the register, and I loaded his cart. And it was just, a small gesture that didn't really, I didn't even think about. But he was so moved by it because he was struggling so hard that he forever made a point to come through my cash register and thank me every time. And the first time he did that, I just started crying
Mm.
because I didn't realize
Yeah.
that. And then so then he would come through every time, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm good. Are you feeling any better today?" And he was, it's one of the people I miss from
Mm-hmm.
working here. But yeah, it was like that. What may not seem like a a huge gesture or just um a big thing to you because it's part of like it's what you do to be a decent human.
Right? It's just
hmm
you. It's just part of
But
your operating
so
system.
many people don't experience that
Mm-hmm.
that when they do, it's like so.
I do have a story like that. It was back the first year of the video store. Um, it was actually like the second month of the video store. So yeah, I signed for the video store October 31st, same day I signed for the house. And so everyone had heard because we were buying the video store from these other two guys. And I guess the guys had said some things to the regular customers, so nobody was coming in. So it was very slow in November, but that actually kind of worked to our advantage because we were just sort of getting our feet and figuring out how to operate. And December, I mean, how do I say this? I like sending Christmas cards. I like sending pretty cards. It's just Christmas cards are far more widely available and affordably priced than like
Mm.
other seasonal greeting cards. And Big Lots had this most amazing sale. Y'all, it was 10 boxes of Christmas cards for $1. And each box had 10 cards in them. So it was a penny a card, including envelope. Were these fancy cards? No, they were not.
No, the pharmacy had gone out of business.
Yes, a pharmacy had gone out of it. So it was all these boxes of cards. Christmas cards, also other cards, but mostly Christmas cards. And I was like, woohoo, we're buying everything we can. And the video store had come with, I think, 425 accounts, memberships. Some current, some not. But they came with that. So what we did was we didn't have much money. Like, this is what we spent my inheritance on. Because I wanted to try out my business ideas in a business format, in part because I had found out from a whole bunch of people who'd gotten bachelor's and master's degrees in business administration that they're absolutely worthless in actually successfully running a business. At least from the local universities in my state. So that they said, no, you need experience. Nothing's going to make up for that. So that was why I started the video store. And so we figured out how much money we had, and I had about essentially $100 between buying the cards and mailing the cards. But I didn't want to just mail a card. I wanted a little gift. So here's what we did. We printed out, because we had a color printer, we printed out these little business cards because they would come in blanks. And you could print them out yourself on the printer. And we could print out, bring this in to get a free rental, a free new movie rental. Not that we really had much in the way of new movies, but we had some. And so that's what we did. So we prioritized it since we couldn't afford to send it out to all 425 people. Also, some of them were we suspected bad addresses. So we had just enough to send it to a quarter of them. And then it was a matter of figuring out. So we pretty much figured out anyone, I think, who had rented in the last year.
Yeah.
And then of those, everybody would take a handful of the cards and they would pick which ones they wanted to mail to. It was literally just that. So yes, did you rent Labyrinth in the last year? We mailed you a card because everybody loved Labyrinth. How about Willow? Yes. And we just kept like playing favorites, and then we still had some left, and then we all just randomly picked, like, how a magician will show you a splayed out set of cards and you pick one? And everybody took turns until we ran out of stamps. And so we mailed out, it was slightly more than 100, I think is what we actually turned out to have enough. And we, everybody hand signed the cards. So every staff member signed the card. And we hand addressed the card, because I had been told a long time ago when I worked for Johnny Morgan, who was an industrial real estate agent, that nobody opens an envelope that is printed. They only open handwritten envelopes because they assume it must be a personal letter, which is why, even though we were doing mass industrial real estate mailouts, that's when I would keep getting hired by his office to hand address cards to mail to all these other industrial real estate agents and other industrial people who may be looking for properties to purchase in the country. Well, in his region of the Deep South. And so that's what I would do. I'd hand address for like 3 weeks, as we'd mail out hundreds of these flyers and things. So that was what we did. So it took like a week and a half. Everybody was hand addressing when they were working, if they didn't have anything else to do. And we mailed out all these cards. And I didn't think much of it, like everybody got a free Christmas card, from the video store that they didn't know existed. All right, it's fine. I just, it was just a little thing. I figured, they'd come in and rent, they'd come in and see us. That's all. I mean, we of course sent it to everybody who rented from us in November and December. That was also part of it. It was a few days after Christmas. I was working, because I was between semesters. So like I was working a bunch of shifts since I had nothing to do during the day. And this little old man comes in, and, he said, he was like, did you sign this card? And I was like, yes, I did. Did we mail it to the wrong person? Do I need to update the address? And I'm literally pulling out the box for him to immediately tell me who it is so I can fix the address. We didn't mean to mail it to the wrong person. He's like, no, that's me. I just want to thank you for this card. I'm like, oh, well, you're welcome. I'm glad you like it. And then he pulls out of his wallet, he carefully, slowly pulls out the little color printed little business card that we just tucked it into the card.
Mm.
And I mean, yeah, I had designed it. It was very bright and obnoxious. It had little Christmas lights all around. It was obnoxious, y'all. It was cute.
You remember Print Shop?
You remember Print Shop. I abused it. And he's like, I want to thank you so much for this. It's like, oh, you're welcome. Did you want to look to see what you could rent? Anything here? But here's where the new movies are. And he's like, oh, I'm not going to use it. I was like, oh, okay. And then he's like, you don't understand. I was like, I guess I don't. And then he goes on to explain that he had 4 children in his, when he was a young man, and he raised them, and he thought he was raising them right. But for a variety of reasons, some of his children have passed away, and they had children, but nobody this year called him at Christmas. Nobody sent him a card. Nobody mailed him anything or checked on him. And he waited 3 days, the day before Christmas, the day of, the day after Christmas. He had caller ID. Nobody even called, and he missed it. He said, your card is the only gift I've received this year. And I just wanted to come in and thank you. He had rented from us once in November. And I was like, oh, well, you're welcome. I mean, I'm sorry you didn't get anything else for Christmas. We didn't have much to give people, so this was the thing we knew we could afford to give. He's like, it's such a pretty card. Did you make this yourself? It's like, yes, I printed it on this printer. He's like, I didn't even know you could do that. This was, again, I want to point out, this was like 2000. It was literally, December of 2000, I think. He said, I don't want to spend it because I want to keep, this is such a pretty little card. I could keep it in my wallet. And anytime I feel sad for the last several days, I've taken it out of my wallet and just sat on my recliner and look at it. And remember that there are strangers who care about me. And I just wanted to come in and let you know that. And thank you so much. And I said, if you'd like, you could use the card to rent a movie, and I'll just mark on the back use, but you can keep the card. Would that be okay? He's like, no, and then he's like, There is a movie I would like to rent. It's like, we would love for you to rent a movie, but you can keep the card. I'll just mark used in the date. He's like, okay, if that's all right, yes.
I would say one of the other part people were very surprised about with that card, because we did have a decent response rate to it. Is one or two called, but almost everyone actually came in and would always very trepidatiously ask, because it wasn't written like most business cards.
Yeah, I didn't know how to write like mumbo jumbo.
No, not that part. But it was that there was no purchase necessary. This was just it's a Christmas gift.
Yes,
come in, get a free movie.
Merry Christmas. Have a gift on us from Videos and More.
No, it doesn't require you rent another movie. It doesn't require anything else. It's just a
free rental.
Use whenever you want. We're not expiring these.
Yeah, there's no expiration because gifts don't have expiration dates. So you could keep it forever and use it, as long as we're open, you can use it. You could use it 4 years from now. It's forever because it's a gift. It's not a condition. And so, and honestly, that was kind of a game changer for us at the video store, because I was like, oh my goodness, we need to do this every year, at least to some of the people. Maybe we can't afford to send out free video rentals to every member that we have, but at least we need to pick anybody we think who maybe they seem kind of isolated and they don't, maybe they're not going to get much for Christmas. So what we did all year is the staff we'd have a little notebook on the side. Any account that you were like, I'm concerned that they're not going to get much for Christmas. So if they had a whole heck of a lot of kids and they never had much money, you'd know when the parents are literally going into the car looking for extra coins so they could get the 5 movies, $5, 5 days rental. Which families are struggling, and which elderly people like to watch all our Westerns because it reminds them of happier times taking their kids, but they happen to also mention that their kids never call anymore, and they found out from a friend of a friend a grandchild was born, but nobody let them know. That kind, and so anybody that we were concerned wouldn't get a gift for Christmas or might not get much for Christmas would be on essentially the short list to guaranteed we will mail them a free video new rental, as well as we then also started sending in as well, also a rent one get one free. But you've got one gift and then you've got another one in case there's other movies you want to rent. But we started doing that so that people would be sure to get a pretty card hand signed by every staff member we have every year. Whoever was working would sign. And so yes, there were hundreds of cards. So we would start signing cards in October. So that everybody so we would figure out in October, how many are we mailing out this year? And everybody would hand sign the cards and then we'd start hand addressing. I mostly did the hand addressing myself. But we would do that. So again, they would be sure to open it up so they'd know there was a gift in there. And also so they'd be sure to get a Christmas card because it matters to people. A lot of people feel lonely or they feel forgotten. And it's not look, a free rental. Look, new rental was $250 back then. It's not much. It's the most dubious gift, right? I gave you $2.50. Merry Christmas. But it was what we had. We did not have much. But that's not the point, right? When they talk about it's the thought that matters. That's where I really saw people meant it of let me tell you, that family with a whole bunch of kids, we started putting each kid on the list so they would get a card separate. So they would be able to finally rent one new movie they wanted to rent. And then those kids would often save them for their birthday. So they would get to rent whatever movie they wanted on their birthday and things. It was the cutest thing. But yeah, any kid we found out was in foster care automatically being put on the list and their social worker's phone number so we could be sure to update their address. So that everybody would get that because everybody should feel remembered at least when it, during the important times of year, right? I mean, because this world is always hard, even before right now in the 2020s. This world has always been difficult. It's not easy to survive. So remembering people and making sure they know that we remember them, that those little things, I thought it was just, it's a little gesture. Nobody's going to value it much. It meant so much to so many people, even though, again, it was $2.50. It was $2, y'all. It was nothing. But that wasn't what mattered.
Mm-hmm.
It mattered that it was this silly little Christmas card with a robin on it, or like a little Christmas tree or a snowman. Again, these were the world's cheapest pharmacy Christmas cards ever.
But it's the part where there was effort put in. Someone had to hand address it.
And like also the staff would also put like their own little notes. Like, hey, be sure to, like, hey, Mr. So-and-so, I know you're looking forward to, da-da-da, I can't wait for you to check out some new Western movie or whatever. They would, like, especially staff would write in their specialized note when they knew who it was for. Because I would mark each envelope that way. So we didn't get things mixed up. So yeah, staff would personalize messages in the card. Because that's what it's about. It's about making sure people feel special, because you are. Each one of you brings something unique to this universe.
And like,
and
there's
irreplaceable.
And not to get Glory onto a rant, because believe me, she has a rant for this one. But the the part about what gift giving is about is showing you understand someone else. Is showing that you have been paying attention to them. And so here's what, of them, that you're capable of, showing here's how much, I have been paying attention. That is part of what, gift giving is. So when you give someone something, when you give to something by someone who that's not anything you care about or like, you may have even stated sometimes you don't like this, and they give, it's like, what's this about? Essentially they gave a gift to themselves.
You don't cook and they give you a blender. Why would you give me a blender when I don't blend?
Versus giving, as I said, like we would mention in the cards, another of like their favorite type of movie that we think we found another one they might enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's no conditions. It's just we know them well enough to know here's something else we think you'll enjoy. You are in our thoughts. We do think about you. We do recognize you as an independent person.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's always nice to have one of those around.
Yes. Good gift givers are like rare and wonderful.
Somebody noticed.
Yes, it is an alpaca. I change it every week. Not to get on a tangent, but last week's, week before, the week before that. So yes, every week I change it because I can. But yeah, like that is part of that. Compassion is like learning. Oh wait, there are people who don't feel it as often, but somehow something you did sneak through.
Mm-hmm.
So even what we do matters, even when we feel like what we do doesn't really get noticed or mattered. I promise you. It's there. Sometimes people are slow burn to realize what you've done matters to them.
And to show you like how much this is just ingrained in humans. Little secret, little corporate secret. That was the real reason for Walmart having those greeters at the door.
Mm-hmm.
It was not, oh, so you feel like this is a place at home. It's because when people are greeted, they feel like they're being recognized. They're less likely to try to shoplift.
Or rob the place.
Or just break things.
Yep.
They become more considerate because they have been recognized as an individual. And that's all people really want. Yeah.
So, yeah, I like to send like little cards, little notes to people, since I have seen how much it does, people do feel remembered and valued. of like it's such a simple, easy little thing to do. I mean, I say easy and I have ADHD, so obviously I'm a slight hypocrite here. But like it's not like you got to go get a hoe and start digging a ditch. Like it's not something intensive and exhausting, even if it can be a little mentally exhausting. It's something that people do value, even though it's just a little thing. It's just a card. It's just a little card that you wrote something inside, and that you, like me, oh gosh, do you know how much I sweated all of the personalized notes I wrote in the Christmas cards? I was having such writer's block, and then I'm like, just get it done. They understand it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't even have to make a lot of sense. Just make sense sentence to sentence, Glory. That's all that matters. And that is how I got through the cards. Because I want people to know I remember them and I care about them and I value them, and here's a pretty little card. I can't do much, but I can do this.
I mean, and also, like, that's part of why I don't know. It varies depending on the culture and group, at least in the States. But it's most popularly known, among your Jewish gift giving, is that you do mention in that gift giving how much of a discount you got on it. And the reason in the Jewish culture this is a good thing versus others where no, that's how much did you spend, is that Jewish shows that you have stayed in my mind this much of the time, that when I saw it on this good a deal, I was able to get it. I didn't have to at the last minute get it and pay the full amount. I've been thinking about you constantly throughout the year. And so when I saw the opportunity, I was able to get it at far less than normal because you're always there in my mind.
Yes. That's why. That's why they'll tell you how much they got off and how much they spent versus what it supposedly retails.
And like, the true line of, I got 90% off, or I managed to talk them into giving me this as part of my regular purchase.
Yeah, it's like, you really love me, because it's, effort and time and planning sometimes, that shows how much you care. At least like in our mother's family, like that. So that's why we share how much we got a discount for it, or the story behind how we got it, how we got the item. Because the point is, like, it's not only as such a deal, but it's exactly what you wanted, or it's, precisely what you've been wanting.
Or I think that this might help you in something you didn't realize that there was better things with it. Like, Charlie Dorset didn't realize that there are special heated blankets made for pets that, do not get over the temperature of a cat. So even if they stay on there all the time, they're not going to get overheated. And such of like, and are safe for their clawing, which is why it'll usually be stuffed within another outside shell. Like, these exist.
Yep.
I don't know the best ones. Here's my article, though I did find on someone who has been testing them out and the pros and cons for each. I'm like, that's the best I can do, but it's still showing the here's something you may not have known about, and here's the best I can do, to help your life be a little bit easier and more enjoyable.
Exactly.
And that is, the real secret of charm is I think about you as an individual, and I'd like to see your life be easier as a way to show I care about you.
Hello to Mama. We're wrapping up. At least in theory.
In theory, yeah. I know. Now comes always the important time of like, all right, how many last minute thoughts will we have? That was Charlie's exact thought.
They gonna get electrocuted? Yeah.
Let's not have a National Lampoon's Family Christmas.
Yeah. So, let's see, where are we at final thoughts?
Don't be a jerk to people.
On your worst days, try to be, not like try to be your best, but like actually try to be mindful.
And even if you're not obligated, if you are a jerk, apologize.
Mhm.
I have definitely had some rough moments doing deliveries, especially with restaurants, and less so with customers. And if I did act rude, once I was able to, hopefully within moments, sometimes a little bit longer, I then made sure to apologize to the person, let them know, like, I'm sorry, that wasn't about you, that was about me. Don't don't
Mm.
spread the cheer, don't spread the jeer.
I mean, like, it is okay to make mistakes. You can just say, I'm so sorry. I'm having a really bad day. I didn't mean to take it out on you, but I definitely need to now leave before I make this worse. Of like, you can just tell people you're having a bad day,
Mhm.
and they will like do their best to be gentle with you too, even when you're trying to be gentle with them. Um, I have had some bad days, y'all. Some super bad days. I have shown my butt, not literally, but figuratively. I have in public. I have behaved in a way that I was genuinely embarrassed about. And the best thing to do, if you just had to get out of there because you could not stop yourself any further, is next time come back, and when you see the same people you interacted with, say, I am so sorry for the way I behaved. I was having a very bad day. And I have felt bad ever since for how I treated you. I am so sorry I got shrill, or I said something, or I didn't say anything and I just treated you like you were a robot. I apologize. Often people have said to me, I didn't even notice actually, but thank you. Like that. Like, okay. So thank God that at least they didn't store it in their head. I once like had an absolute meltdown at a doctor's office because I was coming in because I had a UTI that was so bad. It hurt to stand. It was so bad. Like I was not in good shape. And then the receptionist was saying, "Oh, well, we need your insurance card." And I'm like, "You have my insurance on file. I've literally been coming here like every 6 months for 3 years. Why could you have told me that when I just made the appointment this morning?" The same receptionist I was talking to you then. "Oh, well, you need to always carry your insurance card." I'm like, I literally am like tears were actually coming down my face at this point because I was standing for more than 5 minutes because I had to walk in from the parking lot. I was like, I told you I had a raging UTI. You did not think to mention it then? Guess what? I cannot walk back to my car, let alone to my house to go find this. Well, the doctor can't see you then. Okay, and it was at that point. Literally, people in the waiting room got up and sat in the back of the waiting room away from the receptionist desk. As I melted as a human being and raged this woman. I was in tears. I was screaming. Pam came in. Tom knows who Pam is. Pam came in. The Pam is the one who does the insurance and like does all the filing. And she's like, "It's okay, Glory. It's okay. I don't need your insurance card. It's okay. Can we get her to a room now?" Like Pam is yelling through the file room. They did not. They did open, the magic door to let you out of the waiting room and into the back where you go to a doctor's room, an exam room. They did not take me to an exam room immediately. The nurse was like, here's the cup. Go pee now. You stay there till you have something to pee. Because we don't need to see you till we know what's happening. So you just sit in this bathroom, and no matter who knocks, you don't need to say jack. You just lock this door and you wait until you got a sample. You put it in the special little door, and then I will be right over here around the corner in this chair waiting for you to come out of that bathroom. You can take 30 minutes. Don't you need to worry? Don't you? You cry all you want in there, honey. You're fine. So 35 minutes later, I come out. I did have to deal with my shame first of like, I can't see anybody, but it's like, but I'm medically, there was blood in my urine. I was not in good shape. And I was like, hello. And she's like, oh, there you are. Let's go. And she's all smiles and everything. And she takes me to the exam room and, to do my blood pressure and everything. And I'm like, I'm so sorry the way I acted. She's like, oh, honey, I've had really bad UTIs too. Don't you worry about that. I'm like, no, I really no. She's like, nobody knows. I'm like, I literally do not believe you, ma'am. I was screaming. We understand, honey. It was from pain. There's probably not a woman alive who will not die before she has a terrible UTI. We understand. And also, we have all had words with the receptionist while you were in the bathroom. Didn't you hear this voice? Like, yes, I did actually hear a whole lot of talking. She's like, oh, yeah. When I came out of the exam room after, because, like, they also had to wait a little while because they had to culture it. But, I mean, science is amazing. And they were, within an hour, they had it cultured. They knew exactly what was going on. Thank goodness. And gave me a shot and everything to get me started. The receptionist was no longer at reception. I could see her. She was in the tiny back of the file room. They had literally stowed her away. And she honestly looked like how dogs look when you put the cone of shame on them.
Oh, no.
Yes. Apparently,
yeah.
they had read her the riot act. I still felt like an ass. I still felt absolutely terrible. I felt like a monster for screaming and melting down in the waiting room. But nobody else blamed me. They got a new receptionist, 3 years later?
Yeah.
And I got to know that receptionist. And, we actually became pretty good friends, truthfully, through a variety of things. Like, we met outside of work by accident and, kind of became friends. And I told her about my I was like, there's probably, a record on my account of this terrible meltdown. And pretty much the story I told you. And I just want you to know, I still feel really bad how I yelled at that woman. I still feel bad. I know, it was essentially a misunderstanding about, no, they did not need my insurance, but, I still feel really bad. She's like, oh, well, I'm sure it's okay, but I've never seen a note on your account, so I don't know that anybody else noticed. She tells me later, it was a couple months later, we run into each other again out in the world, and she's like, I actually asked about it. I was so curious when you were talking about it. This sounded like surely people did remember. Why was there no note? Because there was a note, essentially. The note said, anytime anyone thinks they need Glory's insurance card, go talk to Pam first. Pam is the one who asked for Glory's insurance card and no one else, is what the note actually said. So it made no reference to my incredible nuclear meltdown. It was, just that. And she asked, and yes, they had, in fact, it took them 3 years, but they were able to finally fire that receptionist. Apparently, she'd been terrorizing a lot of people in medical emergencies.
Oh.
Yes. But again, I still feel bad because I'm not trying to take it out at anybody, but yeah, I'm dying standing, at that point. So even when you totally screw up, as I did, apologize. It's okay. Everybody has not just bad days, but nuclear bad days. And kind people recognize that. Compassionate people recognize that, and they still bring you more compassion when you try to apologize and make amends. So keep that in mind. You've never gone so far, you can't apologize and acknowledge that you wish you hadn't behaved that way. CB said I had to bite my tongue very, very hard when I had an upper respiratory infection from hell, and my doctor had the timidity to tell me, don't put anything in your ears. I almost told her she had the bedside manner of a hand grenade.
I may try to remember that one for later use. That is a
pretty good comeback. I might use that one day.
Yeah, it's that's a good explanation for, that situation. I may have to remember that one for later use.
Right. So, yeah, versus
there are times when you do have to call people out.
Yeah, I've known people who have had meltdowns at Dollar General and threw stuff in checkout, at checkout, the cashier was like, no, I can't give you that display, and they lost it and they threw things. And then they were like, I can never go back to that Dollar General. And I'm like, number one, I know enough people who work at Dollar General to know that they have a 6 to 12 month turnover of the entire store. So yes, you can. You just have to wait a year. Number two, Nobody will hate you for coming in and saying, I would like to apologize for the way I behaved. It was awful and I still feel bad about it. And I'm so sorry. And may I buy you a candy bar? You would be surprised how many cashiers can be won over with one of their own store's candy bars. Like as part of your amends. Not like, that excuses any other behavior. But I'm just saying, like, to show people your sincerity. May I buy you a candy bar? Or soda or something?
I'd
Right
say,
now.
or the smoothest move version I heard about that one was the you ask the cashier, like, you're not feeling well, you're playing, but you're wanting to get a candy bar. You just get to decide which one. What would they get? And then you just buy two. One for them, one for you.
Yep. And after you check out and pay for it, you go, here you go, bye-bye.
You just
Oh,
gotta
well, I
be,
don't want this. Like, one day you will put it in the drawer. Bye-bye. Like, and you
you
just
do have to be
leave.
careful because some places like consider that a tip, and like they don't allow you to like tip their cashiers or their the guys that carry groceries out to your cart. Like they have, higher ups have issue about that, so you do have to watch like the policy so nobody gets in trouble. But
I have found most people are not in trouble getting fired for a candy bar. Cash, yes. A candy bar, it's like, you just tell them you have low blood sugar. Bye. And like, as I said, like, even the cranky bosses and managers in retail, I haven't really had any issues with. It's a candy bar. Keep it for when you have low blood sugar. Bye. Of like, they understand. If you want to make amends, go and apologize. If you want to buy them a candy bar, do so. If you don't want to buy it, don't buy it. But that is one of those hard lessons I've learned is there's no behavior you can do that is so absolutely terrible. You can't at least show the person you affected that at least you feel remorse about it. They may still yell back at you, and maybe you have that coming. But also, that is valuable too. I did once have somebody who really did me wrong. Like, really, really wrong. And they took me 2.5 hours of yelling at them in a gazebo at their aunt's property. But they didn't leave. And do you know how much I do not hate them now because they did not flee? Because they took it when they took me aside to apologize for this horrible thing they did in my life. And I was like, whatever. And they're like, you don't believe me? I'm like, oh, I'm sure you feel it, but you don't want to hear what I have to say, so whatever. They were like, no, I really do want to hear what you have to say. I'm like, no, you don't. You want to feel good about yourself, so whatever. And they said, whatever you have to say, I will sit here and listen the whole thing. And I was like, do you give me your word? And they said, yes, I absolutely give you my word. Let's hear it. I have it coming. And I was like, 2.5 hours later, I was done with my rant. Literally, I was standing and pacing and my hands were this for a solid 40 minutes out of that 2.5 hours while I tore them to pieces verbally. And afterwards, I felt so heard. And I thanked them for listening to me because now I could definitely move forward. And they're like, I'm glad because I really saw how much I actually affected you by you sharing that with me. So still, thank you for actually telling me. And I do not hate them to this day. Unlike many people where I have no good thoughts about them for other things they've done to me. This person, I actually am totally okay with and have said good things and have given them good references when other people like, oh, I know you know this person. What do you think of them? And I said, they know how to make amends when they mess up. And I think that is a valuable skill and ability in an adult. So I would say, yes, you could go ahead and hire them or pay them for this job or whatever. So they may not know that I have actually been helpful in their life because I certainly did not contact them. But because they sat there and took 2.5 hours of me ranting, it turned out well in their favor, actually, in the end. So again, I want to point out how valuable and powerful it is. If, God forbid, you totally screw up, to go back and try to at least make sure that person knows, I feel remorse about what happened. Because so many people just ghost.
Mm-hmm.
So, if everybody's good, I guess it's about time for us to say goodnight for another week. Unless anyone else has final words, thoughts, things. It is hard to apologize.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when you've had rather abusive, traumatic people in your past. So I would say start small. So, next Monday, we are going to talk about financial budgeting wizardry. Why, yes, it is magic.
There are many tips and tricks to budgets.
Also, we will be discussing how to address envelopes and packages for the mail at the request of others. Why? Why with financial budgetary wizardry? Because sometimes you just have to mail your payments in. It is important to know. Also, I have been informed that the schools apparently may not actually teach this anymore, which blows my mind, but okay. So we will go over how to address letters and envelopes for all kinds of varieties of situations. Yeah, apologizing is such an advanced level skill.
Mm-hmm.
But it is important. And do not ever say, if you were upset, if you were hurt by my action. Oh my God. That is the biggest. Oh, well, you've just invalidated your own apology. I don't know why you tried at all.
Mm-hmm.
So, we are going to talk about finances. So, yeah. All I could say was, I guess, probably some people will get triggered. So bring your lovable stuffed squishy teddy bear or your snuggle blanket to comfort you. Because money is apparently emotional.
But at least know we are not going to be going on those crazy blame games that the news likes to do of avocado toast. And having a nice cell phone shows that you deserve to be poor BS.
Oh, we will never come for your avocados or your cell phones. Or your gaming devices. Or any of that. That is not what financial budgeting wizardry is about. It is more about tricks, tips, and hacks for actually dealing with your finances, both at the micro level and all the way to the macro level. And how I have learned to make this fun. What was that, Tom? Money will always be miserable and depressing? How's it now, Tom?
It's much better. It is much better.
It's slightly empowering, possibly, maybe, kind of, sort of, maybe.
It's less upsetting.
Oh, yes. So it is an emotional and spiritual journey next week that we will be going on, because that is what money is. I don't know why, but that's what it is. Tim Alma says there was definitely a huge Tumblr thread going around where Americans couldn't address envelopes properly. Yeah, they used to teach it in school. Okay, way back in the day, in the 80s. Yeah, as your elder, I'm telling you all. They used to actually, you were graded, you were given grades. And if you failed, if you got below a C during that chapter or section of the lessons, you would have to, retest before the end of the year in order to pass to the next grade. And envelopes and letter writing was among them.
Mm-hmm.
Spence says, example of triggering. Mr. Spence shouted, F your avocado toast at my laptop. Yep, you can have avocados, at least occasionally, and still pay the rent, in theory. I swear by my mint.com. It makes budgeting so easy. I've been using them since 2010. Exactly. We will figure out together how to game this.
I believe Mint is from
Quicken or Peachtree?
Yeah, Quicken. It's Quicken's free
Peachtree
thing.
owns Quicken. Peachtree is now like a secret Cayman Island. You know what?
Yeah, it's like I don't even know.
I'm not getting into the dark history of
anymore.
Peachtree.
I think
I'm not
Peachtree
getting
is
into
now
it.
competing with what's their names who do business audits?
Intuit?
No. Intuit and Quicken are same company now.
What?
No. I think it starts with a C. That company that audits other companies, like that's their main business. That's what Peachtree competes with. Like they're on government contracts now.
I don't know. I don't know who C is.
I'm sure
you mentioned spreadsheets to keep track of things as I look at my notebook with my credit card tracker, and when I go over limit, I highlight it in red.
We're going to go over the whole mishbucha. I promise you, we will show you enough ways to work on your budgeting and your finances to work for every or nearly every kind of personality and person. There are a lot more options than many people realize for figuring out a workable system that is doable for every person, no matter your levels of ADD and ADHD, as well as not levels at all.
And yes, there is a reason why addressing envelopes will come up, because there is the envelope method.
There is the envelope method, which I knew a lot of people were like, no, that's silly. And then we're like, this is the only thing that's kept a roof over my children's head. And I'm like, you're welcome. So, by the way, the envelope method is actually wonderful for children too. I've had many students love it. Spence says, people make budgeting way more complicated than I can manage. LOL, I keep track in my bullet journal what I need to be putting money in what pocket this week. Yes. So there are a lot of ways to roam, and we are going to show you some of our favorite roads to get to. I mean, I guess like obviously the end goal is financial solvency, where you're able to keep a roof over your head and keep food on the table and electricity and Wi-Fi. You know, ideally, obviously I cannot fix the entire dystopia we live in, but at least you will know whether you can or cannot reach financial solvency, because it actually has been a surprise for some of my students of you're literally not bringing enough in, and there's no way in your current situation you can bring in enough money every month to pay the bills that have to be paid. You are in a crisis, but at least now you know it's not you. Now you know that you've got to figure out other solutions, like a different place to live, a different job, and so on. But at least now you know you've diagnosed the real problem. And we go over that because that matters. Do you know how many people I've sat down to help them with their finances where it's like, no, but you have to stay in the room while I do this. You are not allowed to leave except pee breaks while I do this, because number one, I need to ask you questions. And also number two, people do actually it is still helping them on their healing journey. Even if someone else is doing their finances, to watch someone else do their finance, it's still helpful. So that's what kind of matters. And yeah, like we've figured out, like the reason why you're never able to make ends meet is because literally the ends do not meet. It's not you. You're not doing anything wrong. It is the situation you're in. So we need to somehow change the situation. So we will go over all of that because it matters, and because no one can reach the top of the self-actualization pyramid as long as they are worried about finances. It is a psychological impossibility. You know, I don't say these statements very often, these hard and fast, like this. I always say like, it's a maybe, or it's kind. No, this is one of those, we know this for a fact. While people are worried about money, they are not able to reach higher order thinking. Executive functioning becomes incredibly impaired. So if you want to be a writer, you need to really learn budgeting financial skills. If you want to realize your hopes and dreams for your future, you're going to need to get a whole bunch of financial budgeting skills and just skills in general, but financial skills in particular. If you want any of the things that you have dreamed and hoped you could attain, whether it's travel or fame or a family or, I don't know, make up something and insert it here. You're going to need to figure out all of those bottom level Maslow's hierarchy of needs stuff. So we are going to go over it. Welcome to this entire series. Spencer says, if we are worried we're going to lose our ability to live inside, we can't really not do anything else. Yeah, it's true. So that's why we're going over it. As much as I would rather we never talk about money again. Money is not the dream killer, though, even though sometimes it feels that way.
And if you'd like to join us on Wednesday on Twitch, we'll be doing our usual planning for the following Monday show, coming up with titles and ideas and phrases. And, you know, pretty much everyone plays a game of who can come up with the fun, snappy titles.
Yes, it's a lot of fun. It will be on our Twitch channel on Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. What is that? 3 a.m. Central European time. And it will be available for 2 weeks afterwards to watch at your convenience as well. So we'll be doing that. And then Coffee Bunny on Thursday will be on my Twitch channel, our Twitch channel as well. 3:30 p.m. Eastern. What is that? 9:30 p.m. Central European time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting better at this. So we hope that you will have a chance to join us. Carrie, what about your streaming schedule? Do you know anything?
Well, I was gonna I wanted to stream today, but my stomach was acting up. So I'm going to shoot for Wednesday when little one is at daycare, sometime in the early afternoon. Over on Twitch. I might go up to 5 o'clock, so whoever's watching with me can just go raid Charlie.
Nice.
So
good stuff.
I'm trying to get back on that. I really want to hit affiliate this year.
Yes.
So.
Oh, and before I forget, I even made myself a note and I almost forgot. Before we leave, may I draw your attention to Doll's latest video? There is a link in the chat. She has the latest video she is very happy with. Mm-hmm. And also, did you know that Maggie has a whole audiobook series she is working on and releasing chapter by chapter on YouTube?
Mm-hmm.
So be sure to check her out.
It's a fun series.
Yeah, and if you know, I know all y'all probably are subscribed and have notifications set. Sorry, wrong one. On Doll and Maggie. However, I've heard a couple people have noticed by accident that they have been unsubscribed. So it's still worth a check just to make sure.
Yeah, I got to go check on my main account with Maggie.
Yeah,
because I didn't see it, but I saw it on another account.
Several people have told me they have been unsubscribed from Maggie's account. So I just want to point out, you know, just check on that, just in case, if you'd like to make sure you get notifications when her stuff goes. And yeah, what is it like? Hold My Latte 2022. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And Carrie's Hold My Purse 2022. And Charlie's Hold My Earrings 2022. And some author tubers are even planning on a hashtag for 2023. Hold My Tea 2023. I love it.
By the way, just apropos of nothing, but just responding to Spence.
Dave Ramsey's an ass.
And just, you know, since we're from Mississippi.
Yeah, so Marshall Ramsey, the editorial cartoonist, is Dave Ramsey's cousin. And every once in a while...
And they grew up together, by the way.
They literally grew up like brothers together. Yeah. And every once in a while, Marshall Ramsey speaks his mind about Dave Ramsey, since Dave Ramsey has no problems making his tenants homeless if they can't make rent in a pandemic. So yeah, as Marshall Ramsey points out, you were raised better than that. So yeah, coming at the home. Charlie says, not just for Maggie. I find that despite hitting the notification bell, I don't get notified. So yeah, what kind which is kind of annoying, but it just means that I need to be on YouTube. I don't know about that. I you got to sleep at some point, honey. But yes,
Sleep's for the old.
what was it I used to say when I was a 20-something? I could sleep when I'm dead. So yes.
And then 27 hit, and you're like, I guess I am dead.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's 20, when I turned 27, my body was like, oh no, you cannot regenerate like you once did. No. And there is always Devin Cutting's playlist for those who are live streaming sprints.
Mm-hmm.
Since I have stronger words for Dave Ramsey, but I'm trying to use my good girl language. Thank you. Yes. Because YouTube will demonetize the video if you say any of the real naughty words. And then the only way to get it monetized again is to cut it out. Like literally have to go in and edit and like literally shave out that person.
And then
then they have to review it.
Well, no, then it also won't work with the what do you call it? The live chat stops working if you edit it.
Mm-hmm. So then, yeah. So if you're ever watching one of our replays and the live chat doesn't work, it's because we had to cut it, and then because editing a live stream afterwards removes the live chat option, so you can't see what everybody's saying. So it's unfortunate, but here we are. So anyhow, after the show, we will be in the Unicorn Council Discord server in the Clubhouse voice chat. If anyone would like to join us and hang out, I will be playing Don't Starve Together because that is my mental health break. And everybody, you can do what you want. A lot of people play games of their own, or they just write while everybody kind of chit chats like it's in a cafe. And you can hang out and lurk and not even talk. There is also a matching text chat to our voice chat in case somebody is not feeling verbal or wants to post links or post pictures or whatever. So truly, we try to make it as inclusive and welcoming as we can. And if you have notes for us, let us know. We hope to get to see you, to hang out, or just have you lurk among us. So with that, thank you all so much for coming. It means the world to me. If y'all did not show up, I would not be doing this. So no, the only reason I keep planning this as programs with Tom is because of you. For reals. I do not do this for my health. So thank you so much. I have a blast. I hope you did too. And with that, we shall wave you all into the sunset. Good night, y'all.